Exclusive.
Yep.
What did he say? What did he say?
What is up, everybody? What is up? It's early in the day. I know there's probably a lot going on right now, but I'm back to business, back to bringing you guys conversations based off things that come to me from what I'm observing and things like that. You know, dragging bandits and all that is very fun. Don't get me wrong. I truly enjoy that. But a lot of what I do day in and day out is pay attention to the social climate. And this conversation was sort of inspired by what I've been seeing and just interpreted through the lens of what we're looking at today versus how relationships first started. So I know. You guys didn't want to come to class, but we're here for class this morning. Hey, free JDC. On my computer, I can't see the emojis, so I'm sure that's a fun emoji saying hello. But hello and welcome. This is sort of a random time of day, but I wanted to try this out because this is sort of a decent. So I'm going to get started in a few minutes, but you guys just hang tight. Again, the conversation is titled Goodbye Love, because I truly think that we have exited a certain time, a certain era, I would say, of relationships, of emotional connection, all of that. I think we're sort of tumbling now down, and so that's part of what the conversation is going to be about. And I'll get into that momentarily. I have to fix myself a drink though, because it's very hot, and I need a big, strong glass of water. So give me 1 second and enjoy the tunes in the meantime. Hello. Okay, sorry, y'all. I had to fix myself a gigantic jug because it's disgustingly hot right now, like so bad. Even with AC, it's still hot. Um, but I want to go ahead and get into this topic, and I want to give people a little bit more time to come. But people be doing all types of stuff during the day. That's partially why I don't like to stream during the day. So I know people are working and things like that. But I'm going to get into it. All right. So this conversation is called Goodbye Love. And I called it a social commentary because most of what I'm speaking on is some of the social trends that I've observed, and that I'm sure a lot of you, once we start talking about them, are going to understand and have observed yourself. So let's get into that. And again, if you guys just want to like, share, subscribe, send a cash app, super chat, any of those things are very grateful. I would be very grateful, and would be very helpful to me as a YouTuber who is the first place that I wanted to start with this topic is romance as a concept, right? A lot of times when you hear today men talking about relationships, romance, and things like that, they describe romance as something that women imagine, right? That we just set this humongously high bar for what we would like in a relationship, how we want to be treated, how we want a man to approach us, like that. We're creating this really, really long unattainable list, right? But romance as a concept did not just come from women, right? This concept of romance has existed since we as humans could write, right? Even in calligraphy and things like that. Romance it's been around for a long time, and women are not necessarily the originators. We didn't really create that concept, right? Since I was a young person, I always thought about romance and romantic love. Um, Wait, what are you talking about? Tiki, what are you talking about in here being messy? What's up, Bandit? What are you talking about? I'm nosy, girl. No comment. But yeah, so you know, when you hear about romance, it sounds like something that women just made up, part of a big list of things that we want, an unattainable list. That's exactly how they portray it today. Like it's just too much standards that women are putting onto them. But really, like I said, this concept has come from the first time man, woman alike could write, right? We have Shakespeare and all those things that have been around for a very long time. And we know that romance was his genre. Like he loved not necessarily romance like a rom-com, but I would say Shakespeare is one of the most romantic pieces of literature, and it's meant to be so. So it's really a concept that's been around for a very, very long time, right? But as relationships have become more problematic due to the introduction of become heavily scrutinized as placing emphasis on materialistic gestures or setting the bar too high for the common man, right? So pretty much we're at a point where most men think that if you have any type of preference or standards for how you want a man to deal with you, you're asking for too much, you're doing too much. This is just part of one of those other unrealistic things that the delusional modern woman wants, right? Does that sound familiar? I'm sure you guys have heard the term modern woman quite a bit, and um, a lot of it has to do with the fact that men today they just don't know, they don't understand that romance was always a part of relationships, and now how it was expressed has changed over time, but it has always been a part of relationships. Here for the presentation. Let me grab some coffee. Thank you, Gore. I hope you enjoy it. Why was he in the paper? What you selling in the classifieds, JP? Oh, that was when we went to the town hall. But he'll be. It was due to the food truck. Can you guys let me know if there's some delays or the electricity of it. The other day while I was like in somebody's stream, it just turned off. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that that might happen again. So if you guys start experiencing some delays, please just tell me in the chat so I can, prepare for it at least. Oh Lord, she said, I hate the movie Love and Basketball, struggle sports love. Yeah, and I mean, I use that as an example because even though it's struggle love, right? We know that it is okay. Yeah, it's extremely hot today. There's another advisory, so I'm not sure if that's going to um, mess with it. Again, it's probably more so my picture, um, but oh, let's see what we got here. Oh, thank you so much, Cora. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm sorry for the cash app. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But so basically, we've gotten to this point now where it's become some type of concept that is just unattainable for men, right? Men, if you ask a man to romance you, for you guys to be in a romantic relationship, right? Then you have your standards set way too high, right? You got to take yourself down a notch. You got to accept the common man as he is, ashy ankles, ashy lips, stinky ass, hasn't showered. That's pretty much, we just have to take men as they are, right? And so I put a couple of examples here, because these are movies that a lot of us look at as romance, right? Love and Basketball has that concept of he took advantage of her, or he didn't really take her seriously, and so she went out and saw other things and such like that. And then we have 51st Dates, where these people literally had to fall in love with each other every day, right? Because she had a memory issue, and so it required a lot of work on both of their parts in terms of being in love. I believe romance requires both to participate in it. Absolutely, right? The woman sets her romantic standard, and she acquiesces when he meets it, right? It's a give and take, right? Women and men aren't bumping penises, right? The penis is going inside of the vagina, and I think when it comes to romance and romantic relationships, it's similar to that, right? The woman is there to receive, to give you send the signals that what you're doing is correct, that she likes it, that it's reciprocal, and the man is coming with the gesture. And I think men are just not comfortable anymore with the gesture, with showing love, with expressing that they want somebody, and that is a very normal part of relationships. Hey, Miss Jill, how you doing, love? And yeah, shout out to Gore for the cash app. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, free JDC. I think a lot of men, they just want women to take them as they are, right? They don't have to change any bit of their attitude, right? They don't have to treat her kindly and sweetly, differently than other women, right? She just has to accept whoever the man is, because the common man has so many struggles. That's kind of where we're at in terms of romance. And a lot of times when you ask for romance, or when you seek it, this is what you get. Sorry, y'all. Um, oh, hey, everybody. Yeah, going here. But it always gets placed on the men, though. Listen, society lied. They put every single thing on men. It's totally impossible. This is exactly what I'm talking about right here, right? I just use the analogy of a penis and vagina, right? Women and men are not bumping peens, they're not bumping vaginas, right? Don't get me wrong, there's some people who are bumping those objects, but women and men are not bumping vaginas, right? The penis is entering inside of the vagina. And the reason why I use that analogy is because women are receivers. This is not to say that women can't have romantic gestures for men as well, right? But if I show up to a man's job with flowers, isn't that a little weird? If I show up with lunch, I'm doing what a lot of women do, right? There's a difference. And I think that men don't, first of all, they don't accept their role as having to brings something, right? They feel like being asked to be romantic, being asked to treat a woman in a particular way when she's the one that you want to be with. They believe that that's too much and that the world is putting too much on men. And this is where romance dies, right? Because at some point, some man got online and convinced men that it wasn't their job to seek out a woman. You know, it wasn't their job to romance a woman. It wasn't their job to show these romantic gestures. But I'm going to show you that it always has been. And for some reason, the men who started this trend of speaking this way, who probably don't even really want biological women, they perverted it into something like women are asking too much, women are setting the bar too high, and whatever. But the role of a woman and what she's supposed to present, or what she's supposed to how she's supposed to benefit a man's life has never changed. So I'm gonna get into those concepts, but first I have a few videos because you guys know me. I don't like to just talk at you. I like some actual visual representations. Hey, Black Beauty, how you doing today? I hope you're having a good day. I hope it's not as hot over there by you as it is over here. But if it is, good luck. Yeah, Miss Jill, you know, they make it so complicated now that um, it's really just, we're sort of just becoming, people are becoming indifferent to each other, man and woman. At this point, I think that some people are just so out of touch with what a romantic relationship is that they're trying to create the new concepts and things. And I'm not saying there's nothing I'm not saying there's a problem with creating a particular type of relationship that you want. But I think if we're going to reinvent the wheel for men to have a more comfortable experience, then I do think that we should reinvent the wheel for women as well, right? It shouldn't be our job to completely take care of the kids and family and things like that. You know, be the supporter of a man. You know, stand by him while he's doing good, while he's doing bad. Like, I just think that they want the rules to change, but only for them, right? Women still have to show up exactly the way they have to show up, which is in perfect shape, you know, perfect life, never been touched by a man before. Like, there's just so much, there's so little nuance in these conversations for men. They just want to be over and done with any standard that women have. I think that's where we're kind of failing, right? That is where romance is dying, right? Because men are seeing it as a chore versus as a way of um, attaining a romantic relationship. And again, you got to make it hard when you start. Oh, Lord. Jay, I didn't offer you to come up. Would you like to come up and join the conversation? Well, I'm going to have you wait. Okay. So when I let you know in the back that you can come up, then you can come up because I don't want you to bogart the discussion. I'm going to boot you out of the back if you keep doing that. But okay. So let me just pull up the videos because I want to make sure that I'm really driving home the point that I'm trying to make here, which is ooh, right on, which is that this is how things have always been, right? So I'm just gonna show. Actually, I don't want to play the Love and Basketball one. I'm just gonna play the one from 51st Dates because as I go back now, um, I don't think that that one is a very good example. So let me share the screen. Share the screen, not share the screen. Let me share the screen. Um, but this is from the movie 51st Dates, right? And I know. I want everyone to relax, okay? Just because this is a white couple doesn't mean it doesn't apply to all romantic relationships, okay? So I'm just gonna play this clip and then we'll continue.
Out with me for quite some time now.
Can you guys see that? Let me ask. Could you see that, Jay?
Yes, I can see that.
Oh, it was playing. You guys saw the first 30 seconds?
Yeah, when he was kissing her.
Okay. All right. Bye. Let me, all right, I'm going to start it over because on my end it wasn't playing for some reason. But I'm going to start it over because I want you guys to, let me see. It would be weird because we were programmed to believe that men is responsible for everyone's happiness. I don't think that's true. I don't think anybody has ever held men responsible for everyone's happiness. I think,
Are you connected to the house internet?
yeah. Wait, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's doing that, but uh,
It is. I truly believe that these lifetime stories have it's like a Santa Claus story to me, like Tooth Fairy type of stuff. It's
I'll open it up for commentary a little bit after I get to land my plane. Okay.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Well,
But yeah, I think this is a false concept, and the reason why I just want to address the chat like this and not kind of have anyone speaking for a little while is because I want to make sure that my point isn't being conflated or skewed in any way. And I know bandits, all they can ever do is disrupt. So let me continue. Um, it is easier to romance a woman when that woman perceives that the man is being higher status than her. I don't think being romance has anything to do with status, right? There are definitely women who um, the way to romance them is to show them your status, and hey, to each his own. Shit. Shout out to Tony from Girlfriends. If that's what she wants, if that's what she's looking for, and there is a man out there who's going to give that to her, then that's her business. But I do think that most men don't have to worry about a woman looking for higher status. Now, you do have to be employed, well dressed, in decent shape, smell good, those types of things. I think those things are still important. So I think if men, instead of crying, focus more on the things that make them undesirable, they might find somebody to be with them. So I don't think it's necessarily about that. No, it's not, but we'll continue. Hey, Lana Love. Greetings, Lord. Tell these black men romance is a requirement. Yeah, and travel one. That's the thing, though. And I think this is what people don't understand, especially in the black community, is that you do need romance, right? A lot of these black men, to be real, they just want you to accept them as is, right? They don't have to romance you. They don't have to treat you sweet. They don't have to not want to see you cry or angry. Um, but yeah, the travel one. I do think that that is something that we don't take very seriously. Now you would say, oh, but there's R&B. A lot of those R&B dudes are bandits. Let's be real. Let's be real. They would sing you out of your panties and then leave you in a heartbeat. That's a lot of what that was too. So even though R&B was a very romantic genre, a lot of those dudes were dusty. A lot of them actually were talking about putting women through consistent, um, you know, heartache, stress, arguing, just being mean in general, all that. So I think that's something that the black community needs to do better. The concept of romance needs to be updated. But romance, when we get into it, doesn't need to be updated because it is what it is, right? You can be romantic with $1 in your pocket. You could also be the most dingy and disgusting bandit with plenty of money in your pocket. I have experience with that. So I think that it has nothing to do with what money you have. It has more to do with how you value the woman in your life, how you treat her. Is she just treated like every old woman that you know, or is there a special way that you treat her besides putting your peen in her? I think there's a lot more to it than just having good intercourse or something like that. So, all right, old school romance cannot be done now. Yeah, y'all are lazy. Honestly, I think that's the problem with men today. Get some Ethernet cables and plug it directly to the router for best speeds. That's what I'm about to do, actually. Well, that's what JP's about to do. All right, so I can't really keep up with all this. Friends with a man who puts his daughter. All right, so can you stop?
Plug it.
I'm about to ban you because I don't need anybody who's here because you have drama with Jay Prince, because of who I have drama with in these YouTube spaces. That's what I'm going to start doing to anybody who comes in here and starts talking about, whatever nonsense is in their delusional minds. All right, I'm not interested in having that on my channel. I don't want to talk to you. I don't have anything to say to you. So if you come here and that's what you're doing, I don't care if you've been here before. I don't care if you troll me every now and then. You're getting the fuck out of my chat. Thank you. All right, so let's continue. Yeah, but free JDC, I think the problem is, right now, a lot of these dudes have been told that they should just be taken as they are, right? Now, if as you are is dirty, dusty, ugly, smelly, mean, rude, entitled, a brat, then that's what they're going to be bringing to women. And, that's not always going to attract a partner. There might still be some people dumb enough, but where do I plug it?
It's like a phone jet.
Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. Is it just going to...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, y'all. Anyways, Big Draws, when I'm done, I would like to land the conversation first. Like I said, I said the same to Jay Prince. I don't want this conversation to devolve, so I'm gonna keep going. And then if you have something to add later on, and you're still here, you can jump in. Huh? No, some of the people just want to join the conversation because they saw you on the panel, I guess. All you have to do is be kind and think about the other person's best interest, but that's too hard for some, I guess. Yeah, Lana Love, I think that a lot of the times you have a lot of men today who just come into relationships thinking about what they need, what you got to do to make them happy, right? They want you to acquiesce to what they're feeling, to what they're going through, etc. They don't really care. They don't care if you're sad. They don't care if you're upset. They don't care if you're anxious, right? They don't care if you're tired. They don't care a lot of the times. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that men are being told, focus on you, prioritize yourself, da, 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 da. But I have a video that's going to show you guys what happens when men don't have productive families and relationships like they have throughout history. That's not to say that a relationship or a family is going to stop you from being a dust mite, but men fare better when they have something to work for, to live for, that type of thing. So romance is so bare minimum for anyone pursuing a mate. How low can men go thinking romance is not required? I think when you have men who are just looking at everything from a financial perspective, like, oh, it's all about money. If I don't have money, then women don't want me. And they're naturally going to be turning off a lot of women, right? Because if you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder, women are going to feel that, Even bandits are confident, But there's this weird group of men that started rising out that they think that because they can't get a certain type of woman, right, or they can't qualify for that certain type of woman, that there's something wrong with them. That there's something wrong with women, right? That we have an issue, that we think we're too good, we're making too much money, da 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 da. So, if two dudes is romancing a woman and one has a much higher net worth, who is more likely to win her heart? The one who knows her better. The one who knows her better. Can you stop doing that, Jay? Don't make me revoke your thing. Who has more to offer? Again, finances don't have anything to do with what you have to offer somebody in a relationship. Hey, Robin, what's up, pretty girl? Did I hear you call us ashy? Oh, hell no. Much love, sis, bruh, and chat. Hope everybody good. I'm here to hold it down for the men's. Okay, I guess my producer that I didn't hire myself is just doing stuff now. So let me do this. All right, so I agree that the guy with the lower net worth still has a shot, but who has a better chance? Now, if you are looking at everything like, oh, a man with more money is pursuing her, that lack of confidence in you is going to spill over. She's going to feel that. So there's your problem. No one can help a man who sees himself below another man because of his money. What do you mean? What do you mean, Robin? Robin, I just want people to mind their business. So I don't want you to feel like you have to windmill, but I just think that like life is oh, okay. So yeah, again, I don't know what people are up to. He didn't hit her. If you watch the rest of the video, we were in Walmart chilling for the rest of the for another hour or so. But I think JP does a lot of things that he doesn't realize people can exploit, and so that's kind of just what we're dealing with.
And let me explain that. Let me explain something real
Hold on,
quickly.
because this is not what the subject of the show is. So I wanted to answer Robin and then move on. Okay. From what I saw as somebody who was there, the girl was not hit. All right, she did not get actually hit. She was yelled at, and you know when your parents pump fake you to make you flinch, that's what he did. But I think the problem is JP puts everything on the internet, and these people use it against him. So you can exploit a moment like that and say, "Look, he hit her because she flinched," and now it's a whole, "Oh, he's abusive," da 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 da.
To address that real quickly, today, let me ask you a question. Was the CPS at my house today? True or false?
What?
Now, did I speak with the CPS when they was at my house today
See,
to do a
this is
checkup?
but this is where we get off, right?
No,
Because
no,
you
no.
don't
I'm
have to
finna tell.
hold on though, because you don't have to explain anything. And I'm not going to make my stream about people hating you. We're not doing that. I have an independent channel. If they have something to say to you or about your situation, they can go to your fucking channel and do it. Because what they're not going to do is come here, make my whole stream about what they're lying on JP about, as if I am supposed to speak for somebody. And this is not to Robin. This is to the people who continuously come into my chat and say stupid things. Exactly, though. This is the thing, Scar Dude. He don't listen to me then when I tell him, you overshare. You overshare. And that's the problem. Because people can exploit anything. If I bend over in front of this camera, and shake my ass, people could say I'm a cam girl. Right? People are going to exploit anything that you do in this space. It's okay, Robin, because this shit swirls. This sector is like a raggedy newspaper. The shit spreads like wildfire, and it's all false. It's all false. And it's really annoying because people come here and they just continuously try to make my streams about what's going on with JP. And as much as I love JP, this is not what the fuck this conversation is about. All right, this is not what it's about. And before you came here, people. All right, I'm about to revoke JP's control. So if y'all just give me a second, because he's starting to get on my nerves now. But yeah, no, he does have diarrhea at the mouth. And don't get me wrong, being transparent is not a problem. Put the volume down at least if you're going to watch me. Being transparent is not a problem. My problem is when you overshare. Nobody needs to see you. Nobody needs to see you disciplining your children at all. That never needs to be on the internet. Now, if you want to do that, then yes, people are going to come for you, especially bottom of the barrel, nothing ass bandits like the people in this sector. So again, I do not want this conversation to be about that. Yeah, the thing is, nobody wants to end the people who made obviously pedophilic statements about children, but somehow every little thing that somebody overshares themselves is what we want to put on trial. So I don't take any of it serious that these people say anymore. But yes, different women consider romance differently. Like for me, I like to be treated sweet. Like I like to be treated like the only person you see, right? Like that's just my problem. I don't want you to look at anybody. I don't want you to smell anybody. I don't want you to laugh at nobody's joke. That's the type of woman I am. I like somebody who only has eyes for me, right? I like somebody who has eyes for me. I like somebody who talks to me sweet. I like somebody who can tell when I'm angry, when I'm upset, right? And the same reciprocal. I like romantic gestures, so you don't have to buy me expensive things per se, always. But I would like things to be bought for me that have meaning, right? Like, let's say I like to exercise and you buy me an Apple Watch. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That was terrible. But you know what I mean. I like things that have thought behind them, not just I don't just want gifts. Like I want something that you want to give me, like let's say they're shopping for themselves and they see, let's say he's shopping for himself and he sees like a really cute dress when he's walking over to the men's and he's like, my girl would look really good in that. That shit would turn me on. Like, low key, that would turn me on. That's me, right? But I don't necessarily. I'm just kidding. Liberated. I'm just kidding. But nobody likes their man to be laughing all up in a bunch of bitches' faces. All right? That's all I meant. Florida's old school as fuck. You want dude to drop his coat out in a puddle for you to walk over? No, absolutely not. That would be fucking stupid because likely that coat is expensive. Now, I would definitely like you to get the umbrella and come around and put it over me so I can get out of the car. That would be cute. That's a romantic gesture, right? Opening the doors for me, right? Carrying heavy things for me. That's a romantic gesture for me, right? I think that's romantic. Not wanting me to carry heavy things, not wanting me to get myself dirty, right? Wanting me to enjoy myself, wanting me to go to the spa. All of those are beautiful things. Oh yeah, Robin, I agree that there are some decent people outside, but I will tell you, as much as I think a lot of this stuff is digital, there is definitely a lot of stuff that is starting to spill over into real life. I don't know if you guys saw that pop the balloon situation. Yeah, Tiki, exactly. Exactly. I don't like having to reach for my purse or the door, right? That's definitely a love language right there. Absolutely. But is that a requirement for me? Not necessarily. Can you stop? No, it's not about being pampered. But if I'm your woman and you see a heavy package and you watch me carry that shit in, you don't fucking love me. You don't care about me. That is raggedy as fuck. That is so raggedy. I do not like any form of a man who would rest calmly and beautifully in his feminine while I run up the stairs with a bunch of heavy ass shit. That's a bandit. That's a bandit. All right. See, I'm the type to trip your ass in the rain. Yeah, see, that's why a lot of y'all are single. That's literally why a lot of you guys are single. Imagine a girl being all dressed up and beautiful for you, right? Edible underwear on, everything. And you let her fall in the rain. You let her walk in the rain. That is a raggedy dude. That's a raggedy, raggedy dude. So now, again, romantic relationships require romance, right? So a woman expecting romance in a romantic relationship is not outside of the ordinary, right? But men want you to believe it is. So now, before we get too deep into the chat conversation, because I know it's going to get messy again. Okay. Look, respect for one another and selfless acts for each other. People working in unison to satisfy the other person. Exactly. Right? I work really hard to satisfy you, to keep you fed, to keep you healthy, keep you happy. And you do the exact same thing, right? You don't have to cook her meals, right? But you have to carry heavy things for her. You have to buy her things, right? You have to care about her in other ways, right? Let's take a night. I'm gonna plan everything so that it's just me and you. We go do something nice together and we're gonna have a great time, right? A man setting that up, that's a romantic gesture. He doesn't need $1 million to plan a movie night out with his wife. He doesn't need $1 million to take a woman out to the movies for a night. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of it just sort of goes into how comfortable you are in a relationship, right? Are you comfortable expressing yourself that way? And if you're not, then why are you dating? B Sammy says, what's good, Flo? Just showing support. Let's support our sister Flo. Everyone send $2 if you can. Thank you so much, B Sammy. I greatly appreciate it. And Robin for $9.99 says, sending support for the stream. Thank you so much, Robin. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who's here for the conversation as well. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. I would greatly appreciate it. So, again, thank you to my donors so far, and also to the cash apps. All right, so let's see. Dude is drinking his ice cold beer while Flora be carrying heavy bags into the house. Who said that? Y'all got me fucked up. You think I would stand there and carry heavy shit and let somebody sit there? No, I would never. You know, I would sooner push someone down the stairs before I did that. But I do think that just someone showing that they would allow you to do that while they sit comfortably they're showing you that they don't value the romance in your relationship. They don't really care about you that way, right? And I think that's a lot of why women are foregoing relationships altogether right now. All right, let's see. So how about the physical requirements? Now, what physical requirements? Because a man needing to put on lotion and wash his ass, that's a basic human requirement. You can't even work if you don't wash your ass. So, all right, let's see here. Chicks these days would rather be with an unromantic. No, that's not true at all. Now, this is what I'll tell you guys. You guys think that those 6'6" dudes that get a bunch of women, that they're not romantic. I'll tell you, a bandit, their romance 9 times out of 10 is on point. On point. That's all I'm gonna say. They will dance the panties off of someone. I have seen it. I have seen pookies. They'll show up to that woman's work with lunch, with a wad of cash. He's a pookie nonetheless, but he will show up to her job with a wad of cash, some chilies for lunch. Listen, anyways. You have to show one another that you care. Exactly. You have to constantly be showing your appreciation and desire for one another to be in a relationship. Otherwise, you're just roommates, right? Otherwise, you're just one of you is a housekeeper and the other of you is a consumer, right? That's all it'll become at some point. And I think that a lot of people think that these things are not that important. You don't need it as long as they're paying the bills, as long as they're showing up, yada, yada, yada. That's not always how it has to be. You need a little bit more, right? Otherwise, you're just any other relationship. Black men, proper etiquette when around black women is just horrible. It's not there. They are mean, rude, bitter, and inconsiderate. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and extend that to a lot of men, not just black ones. Is that a dinosaur foot back there? I'm sorry. Jay can never just let me do my streams. All right, too many talking points are put out by people who never even experienced them themselves. That goes for men and women. It is a loud minority of the time. I don't think that when women are talking about relationships that they're not speaking about themselves. And I'll say that because a lot of you guys will say, oh, when women talk about relationships and things like that, a lot of you guys will say, oh, she's just bitter. She must have got ran through. She must be a baby mama. She must have da-da-da-da. So you guys are assuming already that what we say comes from our experiences. So how is it just a talking point? I think with men, a lot of the times it's way more of just a talking point because they're hearing it from other men and just regurgitating it. So many tainted hearts around here. I agree. Right. Miss Jill, don't get me wrong, right? I definitely understand what you're saying here. But for me, it's the kindness and think of me that way, right? Because I know that most men aren't just like that nowadays. I walked into 7-Eleven the other day, right? Now, just to illustrate, when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, early 20s, I didn't go anywhere without somebody opening a door for me, right? But I just went into 7-Eleven, or I guess it was Speedway a couple minutes ago, and this man came out. The door slammed right before I got into it. I was like, damn, we literally were right here. You could have even just put an elbow in it. I would have grabbed it. It just slammed. And I'm not saying I felt entitled to him opening the door, but I just know that men have they've lost their very basic chivalry, right? Not all men, But a lot of men have lost that. So when I do have somebody who goes out of their way to think of me in that way, like, oh, it's raining, let me go get you a coat, or it's hot outside, I'm gonna get you a couple ice creams, and I'm gonna get you this fan, and we're gonna put your feet up, and you're gonna sit here and relax. Like that type of treatment from somebody who you're with, just coming naturally. I think for me, I consider that romantic, and that's why I say romance is subjective. Now, trust me, I love a romantic getaway, right? I've gone on a few getaways that were supposed to be romantic, and they were not. It felt like a boys' trip, right? It felt like we were going to Vegas. It felt like we were going to Vegas with the boys, right? They invited a bunch of other couples, and it just got very drowned out, right? But somebody else going to that location would have thought that was a perfect romantic getaway, right? So I think sometimes those gestures will be in place, but then the man that's doing it doesn't have anything romantic about himself. So I do think romance and romantic gestures have more to do with the woman who's consuming them. So that's also why I won't try to give you guys a whole list of what's romantic. Just like that list of dates, right? People talk about, oh, I don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory, and now it's a whole talking point for a bandit. These hoes don't even want Cheesecake Factory. These hoes, they want luxury. So I think it's better when people keep their own standards for romance. So women ain't going because my elbow's a little ashy. Ain't that a bitch? Yes. Yes. Did I shout this out? Shout out Steph for the win for the $4.99. He says W. Thank you very much for the super chat. Let's see here. Y'all are just chatting. So, Flora, if a man was trying to romance you and you're not interested, how do you turn him down? I always turn people down nice the first time. But if it's consistent, after a while, I'm going to say, get the fuck out of my face. Get the fuck out of my face after a while. Because some men don't know when to stop. I think a lot of you should understand that we're kind of in a time where men kind of feel entitled. So you do have to, when a woman says she's not interested in you, stop. All right, so I'm going to play this video, and then I'm going to continue with the talking.
You've been dying to make out with me for quite some time now. Feeling better now?
Nothing beats a first kiss. There's nothing like a first kiss. Nothing beats a first kiss.
That's what I've heard.
And the thing I love about this movie is that, like, he literally takes her on 50 first dates, right? And I know it's just a movie, but the point that's being making here is, like, you sort of have to fall in love with each other every day in relationships. And this man was patient enough to make her, or want to, get her to fall in love with him consistently over and over again when she had this traumatic brain injury. And I think in the end that it actually comes out to be that she starts to do a little bit better, but she still sort of has the condition. But do you guys even think that in this day and age that a bandit, or excuse me, that a man would actually treat a woman this way and actually be patient enough to try and make her fall in love with him for 50 days in a row, or for 50 different times because she lost her memory? First of all, let's talk about the fact that when women become ill, the man usually leaves them if they don't pass away, right? But when the reverse is true, right, when men are ill, you usually see women standing beside them, right? So I think that in general, a lot of the times a movie like this would be outside the ordinary, because it just statistically shows that men aren't really going to stick around for challenging relationships like this. But I think the point of this movie was that, you have to fall in love with each other every day. and it's possible, right? If you put the enough persistence and effort into trying to fall in love with somebody every day that you actually care about, that you can. But let's continue. We're going to watch the rest of this, and then I'm going to continue the presentation.
Nothing beats a first.
What are you doing?
Nothing. I was just getting some lint off for you.
You were going for a field ski.
All right, I'm sorry, but this is like the 23rd time we've made out already. They're getting blue.
I know. I know. I mean, I really don't know. For me, it still feels like the first time.
Okay, let's average it out then. It's the 23rd time for me, and the first time for you. That's about our 12th time.
Yeah.
Now, Hawaiian law clearly states after the 12th date, I'm entitled to unlimited boob access.
Why didn't I meet you one day before the accident?
You say that all the time.
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty cute example of a romantic gesture. All right, let me, y'all are all up in my face. Okay. All right, let me do this. Let me pull this back up. All right, so again, romance is a concept that's been around for quite a while. How long though? How long has romance been a thing? All right, so our beliefs about romance was actually shaped by history, believe it or not, right? History has a really good job of showing us who we were and how we got to where we are right now. Let me see here. I ain't gonna lie, I'm lacking in the romance category, so let me get my notepad and pen. You go right ahead, all right? I'm gonna give you a few seconds to do that so that you can get back here. I don't want you wasting any women's time, so I'm gonna wait, okay? Let me see. All right, so I hope you got a pen and paper, and I hope that you are taking notes for this one, because I truly think that when you guys understand the history and things, maybe you guys will do better in relationships. All right, so let me put myself here. All right, so our beliefs about romance were shaped by history. The first type of courtship, I should say, started with arranged or forced marriages, right? And a lot of the times you saw this for a number of reasons, many of them financial. What do you mean? I'm just trying to make sure you're prepared. I don't want you to be wasting any women's time. The most romantic is when a genuine connection is established. Sure, absolutely. But we basically started from this ancient concept of arranged or forced marriages, right? This was in the time of chivalry, where relationships were usually done for financial reasons, right? People needed to get out of poverty. The women were associated with bringing some wealth to the family via marriage, vis-a-vis the partner having some money and such to give to the wife's family. I can't believe this van just passed out like that. That's crazy. So we basically went from those type of arranged situations, forced situations sometimes, to medieval chivalry, right? And medieval chivalry is a concept that was described as wooing a partner, right? So you basically had to go, and that's where you saw these grand gestures, people at balls, having these events that were basically just for people to find partners and get married off, for people of money to pass off their daughters, and in exchange for some type of wealth, just a number of things. So even though it was still very formal at the time, it was more so arranged, sort of. And I'm just going to pull up my article for that, because I want you guys to see what I was reading when I came across this concept, right? So this concept talks about romance through the ages. So I'm going to share this really quickly just so you guys can see it. Shut up. We know why he fell asleep. But this is an article from 2019, and they talk about it all throughout history, right? So we had this first concept, which was ancient courtship. Again, this was not a choice relationship. You had to be sort of put in this situation. It was more so forced. It was more so to benefit your family. It was a social requirement at the time because that was how families, were able to obtain some level of wealth. That's sort of what we were looking at here. All right, so they described this as marriages that were not by choice. Some of it was because there was a scarce amount of women, so men had to go and raid these other villages to even find a bride in the first place, right? So when you think about it like that, you start to understand why relationships evolved into a process that involved both people choosing, right? So we're past ancient courtship. We're sort of moving into like French customs and such like that. The marriages are still arranged. Sorry, my butt is sticking to the chair, but that's when marriages were still arranged, still very formal. But there was a monetary benefit from it. Either Man Williams says that's when women was happy. I doubt it. Women were having their heads put through walls and such at the time. There was still a lot of abuse in such in marriages, so I wouldn't necessarily go that far there. I wouldn't say women were happy. And then we go to medieval chivalry. So this is like buying a woman dinner, opening her door. All these concepts that we have today came from medieval chivalry. And then during this time, there was a big emphasis put on love and relationships, right? So even though, people like the financial benefits of the arranged situations and such like that, people were still, they wanted more control in who they were tethered to for the rest of their lives, usually who they had kids with, all that. They wanted more control. So this was sort of a reaction to being forced or taken for marriage, right? There was a lot of women who were disenfranchised from this process. And so there became more of an emphasis on falling in love and choosing your partner, right? So, but even in this time, it was still more so formal. Right, suitors wooed their intended with serenades and flowery poetry, following the lead of lovelorn characters on stage and in verse. Chastity and honor were highly regarded virtues, right? So, of course, you couldn't just expect that if you were an everyday passed around or whatever. I don't even want to say that, but I think the point here was women of honor, women who held themselves to esteem, they could get this situation. And I only say that because in the medieval Victorian type time, there was some plagues going around because of the sexual orgies and things that were going on. I don't want to be naive and act like everybody was a debutante at the time. That's not what was going on. Hey, Sugar Bomb, what is up, boo? How you doing? You just have to be aware. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Scar Beauty, for becoming a member. How you doing right now? How you doing? You are a bandit capturer? It doesn't show me on this end. It shows me when I'm on the phone, but it just says became a YouTube member. But I believe you're a bandit capturer. So welcome to the squad. But so basically, the more options you give people, the more unhappy they are. I don't agree with that either, man, though. I don't think so. I just think that I think the choices now are, the way people are choosing is wrong, is what I'll say, right? You have swiping, you have balloon popping, you have love at first sight, married at first sight. That is going to doom any relationship, right? So I don't necessarily think that it's there's too much options. I think that the way that people are dating is the problem. But back to this, right? So they wanted to be written letters, and they highly regarded their chastity and kept to themselves in order to win or to gain this type of man. It said that many women first gained the right to propose marriage in Scotland. A legal right then slowly spread through Europe. However, a number of historians have pointed out that this supposed leap year proposal statute never occurred, and instead gained its leg as a romantic notion spread in the press. So, obviously women wanted a little bit more control with who they became tethered to, who they became in a relationship with. Beware. Be aware. Whatever, liberated. I knew something wasn't right. Membership needed to be renewed. Oh, okay. All right. Simping is continued behavior after established nothing further. Not welcome 4 months later. I'm here and still here, sis. Oh, thank you, boo. Thank you. I didn't know that it doesn't just automatically remind you. So thank you very much for being a member for 4 months. I greatly appreciate it. Um, Again, you guys seem to think that the options is the problem, but I don't think so. I think people are just not dating for real anymore, right? If you consider swiping on the phone until you find somebody attractive dating, that's your problem right there. A lot of the times people married people who were in their proximity because they would be around them so much. They learned their personality, they had the same schedule, and so eventually they would fall in love. That's how a lot of relationships used to work. Nowadays, you're swiping on somebody that you've never met. You don't know their relationship history. You don't know their history in general. You don't know what they've done in their life a lot of the times. And a lot of the times men can, put on a face using money and other things to hide dysfunctional characteristics that you would have seen in the past. All right, let's continue here. My circle of K-Sonic's ice is beyond measure. This man comes in with a bag of ice and hands it to me. And I was like, oh, you do like me now. Swiping, balloon popping, the hell is that? Those are ways that people date, right? Back in the day, I guess, there's a new stat going around. Back in the day, it was like 1 in 4 couples met online. Now it's 1 in 2, right? 50% of relationships are starting off of online interactions. Can you stop snoring? He didn't even flinch. That's the crazy part. But I don't think the issue is again, I don't think the issue is in excessive options. I think the issue is that people are not truly getting to know each other. They're not really dating. They're taking snippets of people that they see on their profile and accepting that that's who that person's character is. So as much as people say they like the right to choose, most people seem to like to be told what to do. I call them people who need to STFU and wait for instructions. Yes. I don't think so. Like I said, I think people are doing it wrong. So I don't know that it's a new concept. Trevor one says, Flora, you picked such an lifting, nice topic, and there's still pushback. Interesting. Yeah, I just think that this is where we're at, though. I didn't think that men weren't going to push back on this subject because men are pushing back on romance every day, right? Getting online, talking about what women are or aren't, talking bad about women or calling all women hoes. You're going to get exactly what we have right now, which is men who feel like anything that a woman asks of them is too much. So that's kind of where we're at with things. And I was expecting this. I just didn't think so many of them would be triggered. Just tired of you going to the store for ice every day. I said, no, you attempted. Oh, cute. I stopped the auto renew because I was double charged for the channels I had a membership on. That has happened to me as well. So I wonder if that's a YouTube thing. People connect more online than they did before is the reason. Now, I don't think there's a problem with people connecting online, right? My problem is that people are going on dating sites or they're judging somebody's character based off of their IG page, how many followers they have, how many posts they have. Do they look good in their swimsuit picture? Do they look good without a shirt on? It's just a lot of weird stuff. I've heard so many people say they met their partner on IG, and I'm just wondering what makes you look at somebody's IG and say, I want to be with that person. And then when it fails, you come and tell us that it failed. Prior to 2019, every relationship I had was somebody I met in real life. People I worked with, people I went to school with, maybe somebody who went to the same, community college as me or whatever the case may be. Because I was a nerd taking classes in high school. So when I graduated, I had a lot more credits than I needed and such like that. But yeah, I just think personally, I think there's other ways to do it than online. Like, it's okay to meet somebody online, but the fact that people are going to IG to find relationships is the problem, right? People aren't just going outside. People aren't even going to bars anymore. Like, people usually if people go to bars, they're going with a crew they already know. They're not going to meet anybody new. If they do, it's the one guy in their crew that has some level of, some level of swag or whatever. They didn't get to know each other back in the day. They just took what they could get. That's not true. Now, partially that's true for ugly people, but I would say today, ugly people today do the same thing. They take whatever they can get. In the medieval chivalry, that wasn't just taking what you can get. They were waiting to be wooed, right? Women usually wanted that romance from a partner. They wanted that back and forth. They wanted to be chased. So I think that was dating. It was just very different, right? Nowadays, you don't go to a hall to find a husband. Back in the day, there were what do you call it? There were literally things put in the newspaper saying, "Oh, this weekend there's going to be there's going to be a ball for women, for the most eligible bachelors, for the most beautiful women. Bring all, that type of thing." I think people were more focused on seeking and finding a partner back then, so it was more organized. Where nowadays, people just go to IG when they want some coochie, or when they want, when they have an itch that you can't scratch themselves. So men like to be catty. Yeah, you guys can state your opinions. I did notice a lot of you guys have a pushback, though. How is that different from people meet at the movies and get their number? Now, if I'm watching a movie and a stranger comes and talks to me, I'm not going to give them my phone number. So I don't know why movies came to your mind. But I would say, think about a bar. If you go to a bar and you just talk to the people that you went with, what's the point in going to the bar? You guys could have drank at somebody's house, right? Back in the day when you were going to the bar, going out, the point was to meet somebody, to make a connection. And just people aren't doing that anymore. Right, weird. I don't even have social media. This is the closest I get to it. Scarred Beauty, I am very close to getting rid of some of my social media. And the reason why I say that is because there are so many posts and things every day where people are just crying about dumb stuff or trying to get attention or just doing weird stuff, in general. I would say yes, Kuma. I don't think that's about having more options. I just think you could reach people quicker. I don't know necessarily because you're on your phone that you have more options. He's actually right here snoring in my fucking ear, but it's not as loud. So, what makes you think that in the medieval chivalry era there wasn't makeup? I mean, these women were getting hemmed up, tied up, having those corsets on all day, face powder to the gods. Like, it wasn't good makeup, but they definitely had makeup. So I don't think you guys know too much of history about dating and relationships. I think a lot of it is assumed. I'm an incel. I just buy vagina. Sean, no comment. It's my algorithm. I definitely think no comment. Makeup was for the wealthy. I don't think so. I think women have been powdering their nose since the beginning of time, poor or rich. Okay, let's see. So then we go from this, romance me, woo me, Shakespeare, to the Victorian formality. And this is when I would say, so they're calling the Victorian era 1837 to 1901. This is when romantic love was the primary requirement for marriage and courting. Right, so we're talking about 100 plus years, 100 plus years of people basically saying that in order for you to get a wife, have a family, have marriage, court, you needed to bring romantic love. You needed to have that romance in the relationship. So this is a very old concept, right? And in this Victorian era, this is where you did see the Shakespeares and such, right? People wanted a gentleman. You couldn't just walk up to a woman, right? This is where it was still very formal. Just like you guys were saying, it was almost an art form among the upper classes, right? So yes, the upper classes had more money and time to put into these things. The upper class women were the best dressed, obviously, because they were trying to keep their wealth amongst other wealthy people, right? If you got money, you want your daughter to marry somebody with money so that you guys can get more money. That's what was going on at this time. Once they had been formally introduced, if the gentleman wished to escort the lady home, he would present his card to her. At the end of the evening, the lady would look over options and choose who would be her escort. Do y'all see that? Okay, so women have been swiping right technically for a very long time, right? This has always been the process. The woman chooses the best suitor, right? May the best man win. And that's where that concept, I believe, came from. I don't know if that's exactly true, but this is sort of what we're looking at here. All right, so um, almost all courting took place in the girl's home under the eye of watchful parents. If the courting progressed, the couple might advance to the front porch. Smitten couples rarely saw each other without the presence of a chaperone, and marriage proposals were frequently written. Right, so again, this is still a lot of control because we're talking about a very different time. We're talking about an era of chastity and honor and things being very important for women. You didn't want a woman to be defiled and things like that, and all of that. All right, most men of today, incels pay for vagina. I never knew that. Scarred beauty. I don't think that would be considered an incel, would it? I think that would just be considered you can't get any bitches. So let's continue. Y'all are silly. Hey Josh, low class people didn't care about romance. Romance was rich people. I don't agree that it was rich people. I will say that you had to have some money in order for this to be a priority, but I wouldn't say that it was just for rich people. Um, Although they fared better and usually married within their class. But hello, Josh. I dated this Nigerian woman. She told me I had to present her dad with a donkey. I gave him a stuffed animal donkey from Shrek. It didn't go much further than that, did it? Liberated. Because if we're being real, Angola still has a dowry. So technically, whoever marries me has to make an offering to my parents. Technically, right? Technically. I'm not saying they have to, but technically, if I were to be living under that, culture, any man who married me or who wants to marry me would have to offer something to my father. In Angola, that's where one of my brothers was married. He offered, you know, 10 cans of 10 cases of water, 10 cases of soda. He bought a cow, he bought some other things, and that's just how it works, right? We're talking about 2024. There is still technically a dowry offering in Angola, and it's because that is how relationships work. That's the transfer, right? The man in the family puts everything to raise this honorable daughter, and so the man has to offer something in order to take her. Yeah. And Angola is not necessarily Muslim, but dowry has always been a part of the culture there. A lot of the times they would offer, the man would offer an animal, something that the family could use to make money or to eat off of. I've seen, some people just buy clothing items and things like that. Listen, I'm not necessarily saying that's all he gave, but they asked for material goods, and a lot of the times the family will be the one that'll put together what they want for this, for their daughter's hand. And so I'm just saying that's culturally just what goes on there. It's not what I do. It's not what my family practices. Because in this case, okay, so my brothers are Americans now, so they married American women or whatever. Um, if they were in Angola, my brothers would have had to get together items to give to the family, items to give to the parents, offerings in general. It was just part of the marriage. Yes, money has always been a part of marriage. That is where you're correct. It has always been a part of marriage, and it always will be. And I think there's nothing wrong with that as long as one party isn't trying to exploit Sorry, y'all. I just had to. My bad. I had to step away for a second. Yeah, a goat is definitely one of them. Sorry, you guys. I just a quick second. I had to step away. Um, but a goat was one of them. I've had people have had to give cows and things like that. You guys are laughing, but that was very beneficial for a lot of families, especially families who put all their money, effort, love into raising a daughter. It was just part of their culture. So sorry about that, guys. I did have to step away for a quick second. Um, it may have been a sheep. Yeah, guys. Sorry, it was just a quick second. All right, so let me continue with this. I want to read a little bit more. All right, so courtship customs and tokens of love. Some of the Nordic countries have courtship customs include involving knives. For example, in Finland, when a girl came of age, her father let it be known that she was available for marriage. The girl would wear an empty staff attached to her girdle. If a suitor liked the girl, he would put a puukko knife in the sheath, which the girl would keep if she was interested in him. So even though, right, the parent still has a very, they're still very, they're still kind of controlling the situation. The woman has that choice, right? She has to decide, okay, this guy put a knife in my, girdle, but is this a guy that I want, right? She can just throw the knife out and the dad will never know, right? So there was still kind of a way to keep control. The parents still had a little bit of control, but there was more choice. The woman got to choose who she wanted to be with. And I think that's sort of why things shifted from that perspective of forced marriage, arranged marriage, because women didn't have a choice with who they were tethered to, and a lot of the times those situations went sour. They became bad. They were abusive, or you had women dying during childbirth because they were just being neglected or not cared for. Um, I think what got me a pass is that her dad, was able to see I was able to provide. I need to ask her what got me a pass. All right, so you do have a lady thing. You do have a lady thing. I thought you got the boot recently, so I was just wondering. But good for you. Good for you. All right. Oh Lord, we have multiple personalities. All right, let's continue. The custom of bundling, found in many parts of 16th and 17th century Europe and America, allowed courting couples to share a bed, fully clothed and often with a bundling board between them or bolster cover tied over the girl's legs. The idea was to allow the couple to talk and get to know each other, but in the safe and warm confines of the girl's house. So as you can see, around this time, a lot of different things were being done in order to give people more control over who they ended up with. Um, Women wanted to choose. They wanted to be romanced. They wanted to be with the good guys, the guys who treated them right, who they can talk to, who brought something more than just an offering to their family, right? This is when things truly shifted. And we're talking about 100 or so years ago. All right, let me continue here. All right, so I'm going to read a little bit more, then I'll go back to my presentation. All right, so chivalrous gentlemen in England often sent a pair of gloves to their true loves. If the woman wore the gloves to church on Sunday, it signaled acceptance of the proposal. So there were so many cute little ways that women were given this more control over who they wanted to be with, right? I would say this was the beginning of dating, right? Someone could come, they could show you interest, and if you wanted to be with them, you accepted that, right? In some cases, you accepted a proposal just because you wore the gloves on Sunday. But imagine, right, what it felt like to get those gloves, see that man, to know that you guys talk, know that he wanted to be with you, and then he put those gloves and he was praying that you'd wear them on Sunday, right? There was so much romance just in that, that I think, was kind of lost nowadays. Ooh, no, this was back in 2018 or so. Yeah, and I mean, no judgments, but maybe she would have been here if you got the real sheep. Just food for thought. Okay, let me go back to this presentation now, so we can get rid of this and add this. All right, so again, like I mentioned, things kind of shifted, right? We've gone from this forced sort of situation all the way down to love and romance being the primary importance. It was the main thing that women wanted to see out of relationships in order to decide if they wanted to be with somebody, right? Without romance, there was no marriage, there was no relationship, right? If there wasn't that romance, if that man didn't work to get her, she wasn't going to wear those gloves on Sunday. You know, there was a lot to it. A lot of it had to do with how you got to know the person, and there was a lot of ways that were even created so that people can get it to know each other without jumping in the bed and things like that. And I think this is where we're a little bit lost now, right? Where there really isn't a lot of safe environments for people to get to know somebody that they might want to be with, right? A lot of women got to be scared when they're going on dates. A lot of women got to be worried about, oh, if I don't if this guy don't like me, he might try to stick me with the bill or whatever. Or I got to drive myself to the date because if I let this bandit drive me, he might try to drive me off a highway or something, right? Like if I don't like him when the date is over. So I think, there's a lot of different things today that sort of make relationships hard in general. Maybe I'm gonna go steal one now and see what's up. So, Flora, does it mean some dude in Angola can make arrangements to marry you if you were to offer something to the family? Absolutely not. But if I bring a man to my home that I say wants to marry me, that he's asking for my hand in marriage, he would know that he would need to bring an offering in Angola. I don't follow those customs here, and I don't really care for them. But in theory, if I was in Angola, under the tutelage, of my father still, then yes, that would be how I get married. I actually think he had disdain for Americans. I don't know. I think here's what I'll grant Africans a little bit of leg room, right? I will say that they can very clearly tell that Americans, and especially Black American men, do not value marriage, family, and that important concept. Africans are big on family, right? Some of them might be dusty, whatever you want to call it, but the concept of a family is very, very important in African culture, and they just don't see that here, and you can't blame them, right? 70%. I'm gonna leave it there, right? There are legitimate reasons why a lot of times they might look at one of you guys and be like, yeah, you better get away from my daughter. And I think it has to do with the fact that they can sense that there isn't as much of a strong cultural pull to get a family, get a wife, be honorable, take care of them. That just doesn't exist too much here, right? Not even just in Black Americans, but specifically in y'all ninjas. All right. So women did not just make up the idea of romance one evening at a book club, right? It's been ingrained in our relationships forever. So I have a little bit of a word, right? This is coming from somebody who talks a little bit about the expectations that women have and the expectations that they've had throughout time. I get it. I'd have strict customs too. I don't blame him or anybody. Our mentality here is effed up. Yeah, so that's why I don't want you to necessarily think that what is that? I don't want you guys to necessarily think that it's always because they don't like Americans. I think just some of them are just so serious about their families and their kids that if you come across like you don't have those customs and values, then they don't really want nothing to do with you. That being said, I have gone to some marriages between Black Americans and Africans, and certain families, they mesh very well together. And a lot of times it is those more traditional Black families, those more traditional families in general, that you will see marrying outside, marrying an African. All right, so I'm going to pull this article up, and I chose this article because I thought she did a really good job of legitimizing a lot of the arguments that women make. And not just legitimizing just to agree with women, right? But to really show us kind of where we have gone, what women have offered throughout time and why that it deserves to be romance. So let me just share my screen to this article here. All right, so this article is called The History of Romance, right? The giving and receiving of Valentine's or love token dates to medieval times, right? But the origins of the modern celebration lie in the 18th century with the rise of uh, romantic marriage. During the 18th century, society encouraged young people to select their marriage partners based on their romantic attachments, right? So obviously, like we were just talking about, um, people wanted young people to choose their partners, right? They didn't think that whole arranged marriage, parents choose for you, that clearly wasn't working, right? A lot of women were miserable, a lot of women were seeking to escape those environments and those relationships and things like that. um, yep. And traditions and culture, the Africans that have honor expect honor for themselves and the women of their families. Yeah, exactly. That's crazy though, because I don't see it much, because I know Africans have very little grace with certain things, especially when it comes to marriage, being able to provide for a man's daughter. Again, I've been to some weddings of Black Americans with Africans, and the types of marriages that those were very traditional, even though they were from two different places, right? Some were Black Americans, some were Africans. Their cultures and their traditions sort of kind of lined up, even though they were very different from each other. And I think that is true. I think that's true. Um, Most of the times, there is those few occasional times where some Africans are like, don't bring me somebody who's not Igbo, right? I want a Yoruba daughter or whatever, daughter-in-law. And that is what it is. I think a lot of people are still very tribal in Africa, so that's where you're going to see some of that. Um, but I will say that it's more about traditions and culture. All right, so you know what to expect from me, as you have seen my character of a good wife. Suppose I tell you now what I in return expect, and how you may best please me and make me happy. Thus then I begin. Let me ever have the sweet consciousness of knowing myself the best, beloved of your heart. I do not always require a lover's attention, that would be impossible, but let it never appear by your conduct that I am indifferent to you. Right, Margaret Davenport Coulter to John Coulter, May 10, 1795. Right, so this concept of women wanting to be romanced, wanting to be treated a certain way by their partner, right, being regarded highly, right? They don't want constant attention. Nobody wants that. I don't want to be constantly in anybody's face, and I don't want that to constantly be in my face. But you still want to have that special touch. You want to feel regarded differently than others. And I think that is the expectation that women have, that men just do not want to be. Right. So as expectations increase that marriage will be built on the foundation of love rather than mutual economic interests, the way that partners were selected had to evolve. When parents stopped making the selection, prospective lovers needed to find another one and then determine the extent of mutual attraction. Courtship became a distinctive phase of partner selection, and familiar rituals evolved. Young women, perhaps more than young men, often enjoyed the process of courtship, as it represented a time of freedom and choice. The selection of a husband was the most important decision a girl would make, but it was also the most autonomous. Courting empowered young women. They decided who to accept or reject, and some wielded their power ruthlessly. Right? And I would say the same is true today, right? Even though men think that somehow our options have increased, I would say that women have always had a lot of options, right? The only women who don't have a lot of options are the ones who allow themselves to be manipulated, right? The only women who believe that, they have to do certain things to get a man, versus believe that they should attract men with their energy. Um, that's always been a thing. This concept is not new, right? So even though nowadays you hear these things in a little bit more perverted forms, I'll admit, I think that the concept of a woman having choice and having an abundance of choice has always been a thing. Sorry, y'all. I just had to mute for a second. But okay, so she says, I have never, with all my faults, betrayed one symptom of vanity. But now, if you should discover a little spice of it, can you wonder, just at this moment, are at my entire disposal two of the very smartest beaux this country can boast of. There is much speculation going on as to the preference I shall give. And though I do not intend to practice one coquettish air, yet for my own amusement do I intend to leave these speculating geniuses to their own conjectures, so I have made up my mind. This is Eliza Ambler to Mildred Smith on February 1785. So again, women have always had an abundance of choice. Right now, their ability to actually access those choices have evolved throughout time, but nonetheless, women have always had an abundance. Right? This is the fact that men don't like. Right? They think that the internet, social media, 2024 is what has given women an abundance of choice, but women have always had an abundance of choice, and specifically in the times of courtship, they did. Right, let me continue. So courtship requires that prospective lovers reveal their feelings and that they do so more creatively and sincerely than their competitors. Right now, for me personally, Flora doesn't believe in saying hold on for nothing. I keep thinking something is wrong with my phone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I really, 9 times out of 10, I'm not really expecting people to be in the background. So when they are, I'm just like, but my bad. But yeah, so you've always, since 1785, you've always had to compete for the woman you loved, right? This is not saying that, women are just picking out of a hat which one that they want. But women have always had options, just more laws to protect what women were needed in divorce, abuses, and things like that. Exactly. And I think that's the thing. If women didn't have a choice or felt like they didn't have a choice, a lot of it had to do with the conditions that they were living in, right? Their circumstances. If they felt like they didn't have a choice, it's because they were forced, or not forced, but they ended up marrying somebody young. Let's say they got knocked up, and so their parents forced them to marry that person. Right? That's more so what we're talking about. But in terms of having freedom, women have always had that. I'm sorry, y'all. Can y'all say that a man's status matters more than now? More than now? No. Actually, I would say that a man's status matters less now, significantly less now than it did in the past. So I think, when we start being a little bit more realistic about this, I think then we can do better in relationships. But let's continue. Exchanging Valentines became a popular way to express those feelings. A popular 18th century Valentine form was a homemade love letter puzzle. The writer intricately folded the paper, writing a different sentiment in each section. As the beloved unfolded their Valentine, her lover's feelings were revealed. Many were sentimentally preserved and reside in museum collections today. Like, look how beautiful. First of all, let's take a pause for how freaking beautiful his handwriting is. Like, I don't know if this is, this says reproduction love letter Valentine, right? So it looks like it was something inspired, but look at how freaking cute this is. Hold on. Look at how cute the handwriting is. I need to zoom in because this is also the time when calligraphy and handwriting was important and things like that. But look at how beautifully written that is. Look at the hearts. And this is not much, right? This is a piece of paper. It's not a card. It's not a $15 card from CVS. It's not a Louis Vuitton bag or anything of that nature. It's literally just a beautifully written note on a piece of paper, illustrated with love. Look at those hearts. Look at the cursive handwriting. I mean, she was probably dripping after she saw this. Dripping. Oozing. Because there's so much sentiment put into it, even though it doesn't cost a lot of money, right? But I don't think men even write love letters. Like, imagine how freaking cute it would be to come home from work and your man has written a love letter saying all the things that he loves about you, all the things he appreciates you. Not every day, obviously, but just imagine how much of a difference that would make in some people's lives. Right? We have women today who talk about leaving partners because of emotional negligence. Right? The man will just come home and want to go right in their room, lay down, pop a cigarette in their mouth, play a couple of video games, whatever the case may be, and they just don't value these things anymore. Whereas women, this is literally in the National Women's History Museum, right? You have to go to a museum to find a beautifully written love note nowadays, where it was commonplace for men to vocalize with words, what was written to them and liberated. Every time somebody mentions Aaliyah now, all I can think about is R. Kelly, especially that song. So it's just kind of disturbing. But yeah, I feel what you're saying. Definitely writing a 4-page letter. Um, all right, let's continue. So Elizabeth Barrett published the love poem she composed to her future husband Robert Browning at his insistence after overcoming her reluctance to share their intimate correspondence. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Sonnets from the Portuguese Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Madam, and this is a letter she wrote. Letter from a gentleman to a lady disclosing his passion. Madam, those only who have suffered them can tell the unhappy moments of hesitating uncertainty which attend the formation of a resolution to declare the sentiments of affection. I, who have felt their greatest and most acute torments, could not, previous to my experience, have formed the remotest idea of their severity. Every one of those qualities in you which claim my admiration increase my diffidence by showing the great risk I run in venturing, perhaps before my affectionate assiduities have made the desired impression on your mind, to make the declaration of the ardent passion I have long since felt for you. I mean, these men nowadays could not. I don't even think these men know what a sonnet is. Do y'all even know what a poem is? Even hood niggas write poems. Roses are red, violets are blue. I want to be with you, baby. These guys now, like these incels and these men who can't get women, they don't even understand that concept. They think women are asking too much by even wanting to be romanced. And romance doesn't even cost $1. Romance is free. Romance can be free. Writing a love letter, a declaration of love can be free. Yeah, it's actually very sad. People nowadays don't care what people think. Yeah, men don't care about what the woman they want thinks. They think, oh, well, modern women, nowadays, women are just so needy. I would argue nowadays women have dropped their standards to the ground, to hell, right? That's more so where we're at versus, having a situation where women are asking for too much. And then there's the imbalance of women who are just asking for outrageous things, right? So, all right. And yeah, I remember this sonnet. It's used often as a joke in movies and TV shows. They took a beautiful, real confession of true love and made it a joke. Yeah, I think Rim Brothers have been brewing for a very long time, right? And I think Rim Brothers are those men who watch the popular kid, get all the women, watch the, attractive, you know, attractive not science nerd, the attractive, math student, whatever it is. They saw the attractive kids fall in love with their, high school crush and get her. And so they have never recovered. And so they've been going around the whole earth telling all men that modern women's expectations are too high, romance is too expensive, relationships are too expensive, women are too expensive. Don't spend your money on a beautiful woman who might give you children and a legacy. Spend it on the bros. Spend it on brewskis for the bros. Right? Let's go and buy a dime bag instead of saving our money up to take out that beautiful girl this weekend. Right? You have some men who have had poor experiences in relationships, and so they go around telling the rest of the world that, hey, love doesn't exist. It's not real. Love ain't real. Forget it. And there's some men who've never experienced anything. For example, we had a bandit on here, 27 years old, talking about, oh, I don't think I'm ever going to find love. Relationships are done. I don't think these things exist. Men just can't find real women. There's no real women anymore. Women weren't raised right. And in my head, I'm like, that man is still wet behind the ears. I mean, a 27-year-old man is good as a used condom. I'm not trying to be mean. A 27-year-old man, let me repeat that for you. A 27-year-old man is as good as a used condom. They have not gone through much in life. You have not experienced anything, and yet somehow you have been so wronged by women that you don't believe that you will find anything real anymore, right? Yeah, I get it. Some of it is all talking points. But think about how many men have these conversations that people have online, offline, right? Or think about how many men listen to these things day in and day out. If you're hearing men calling women bees and hoes and they're not suitable for marriage and yada 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 all day every day, eventually that's what's going to register in your mind, right? So people continue to say, oh, this is online, this is online. But if you're just consuming material that's consistently telling you that women are not suitable as mates, that they're asking for too much, that they're doing too much, that they want too much, then this is what you're going to eventually begin to believe. Hey Royce, how you doing? I don't know if I said hi already. I expect people to change the day. I expect people to change with the day. Yeah, exactly. Um, to, from, reason, place, time, song, all in the letterhead. Then hit them with that. Let me drop down a couple lines. I think most people in general don't understand loyalty these days. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree to some extent, but here's the problem with loyalty now too, right? You'll have men who will want to sit around, string a woman along, want her to wait for him while he decides if he wants an actual relationship, not want to give it a label, not want to da da da. And then as soon as some other man comes along and wants to give her everything that she's asking for, now she's disloyal. Now she's disloyal. And I think for me, if you just did what you were supposed to do as a man, she wouldn't have to go out and seek a man who's actually willing to meet her standards. And you have so many men who feel like they shouldn't have to meet a woman's standards. The woman should wait for them to become who they want them to be over time. And that's not to say that men are always going to be a finished product when you find them. You might find a man that looks like he's been thrown together, but he's on his way. He's already almost the best man he can be. But I think again, if you're not going to be exactly where you want to be in life, then you also need to meet the standards of the woman who wants to be with you. You can't call her disloyal if your idea of loyalty was her waiting around for you to decide that you wanted a relationship or that you were ready for a relationship. Before men started being more honest recently, men used to go around saying, oh, why we gotta label things? Women shouldn't be asking for labels. You should wait until the relationship is ready. You know, they're with you every day already. You already deal with them all the time. What's the rush? Oh, you went and found somebody else? You must have been cheating the whole time. Meanwhile, they've been putting that woman through hell for like 6 years. They've been putting her through hell. Or if, let's say a woman says she wants to get married and have a family. 2 years tops is what I think that woman should give that man. 2 years. If it takes 2 years for you to decide that that's what you want to, and within those 2 years she goes and finds somebody else who wants her, what do we expect? And that's my issue. A lot of the time when my male friends talk to me about loyalty issues, this is what they're describing. And I ask them, how long did you expect her to wait around for you? You thought she was going to wait until you decided you were ready for a relationship, beautiful as she is? And I think that's the issue. A lot of men want to put women on pause for them to figure out what it is that they want to do. And then when that woman says, I'm sorry, I love you, we have a good correct connection, but you're not willing to give me what I want, and they move on, now she's no longer a suitable mate. You know, my generation of women, like I say, all of us, but a lot of us are not interested in being a forever girlfriend. Right? A lot of us have stipulations, okay? A lot of us come with a bill, right? But a bill worth paying, right? Because when a man gets a woman who's 100% behind him, he gets something that cannot be bought. You can't buy what a real woman can offer a man. So for me, it's a little interesting that men will, call women disloyal or be unhappy when they leave them for something better, when they weren't willing to give her what she wanted in the first place. I saw you over there. All right, let me see. Let me continue with this. All right, so we read that letter. He was making a declaration of love. So more casual lovers, those of less intimate acquaintances, were able to purchase ready-made Valentine days in the mid 19th century. The first commercial Valentines sold in the United States were produced by Mount Holyoke graduate Esther Howland. Following her college graduation in 1847, Howland began to produce and sell fancy paper valentines. I almost wish I would have found some of this information, um, during Valentine's Day when I did a little Valentine's Day stream. Because a lot of the times when people think about Valentine's Day, they think about it like a consumer holiday that's sort of meant to take all the money out of people's pockets or men's pockets per se. But really, Valentine's started as a way to declare your love for somebody, right? Maybe you had you didn't have the nalgas to do it before Valentine's Day, but because there was this holiday and this special time to declare love, men would wait for this time, write a beautiful love letter, and finally declare love to a woman, right? And I think that's a beautiful concept. I think that's a great thing that turned into a capitalistic venture. Turned into a capitalistic venture. All right. Exactly. The more stipulations, the better, ladies. You can't get your time back. I think this is especially true for women because we do have a clock, right? Women do have a specific amount of time that they have to have children and to basically be in optimal shape for a relationship. And I don't just mean shape physically. I mean shape in general, like to be in their youth, to have the energy to have a bunch of children and things like that. So I do think that yes, you should have more stipulations. Um, yep, love isn't conditional. My brother tried to kill me. She's alive, but he's definitely dead to her. Whew. Listen, girl, I am so sorry. That is tough. That is tough. It kind of reminds me of some of the situations you're seeing now with family annihilators. I don't know if I talked about it yet, but there was a man in Joliet that he wiped out 3 generations of his family. He killed a parent, an aunt, siblings. It was just very, very horrible. So I definitely agree. I don't think love is necessarily unconditional, especially not when it's coming from family and things that is toxic. Under those conditions, I hate you. All right, let's continue to read. So basically, right, for people who didn't necessarily know the person that they wanted to give a Valentine, they're saying that that's why commercial Valentines were created. But I really do think it was just to commercialize a holiday that many people were participating in. Um, in 1850, she expanded her operation, hiring local women to craft elaborate creations with ribbon, glitter, and paper lace in an assembly line fashion. Howland ran her New England Valentine Company until 1881 when she sold it to George C. Whitney Company, headed by one of her former employees. The New England Valentine Company had annual gross sales of $100,000 at the end, demonstrating the romance could turn a profit. So obviously, it became a profitable thing, right? So securing a mate. Throughout the 19th century, middle and upper class married women were idealized for their role as mothers and helpmates, whereas earlier generations recognized women as making economic contributions to households and family businesses. 19th century social conventions diminished their role. Um, Whereas earlier generations recognized these sentences are formed very strangely. Instead, their part, often called the cult of domesticity, was to create a pleasant and restorative environment for their husbands while raising children to be contributing citizens, right? So this is what women a lot of the times are thought to be bringing to relationships nowadays, right? Keeping your man happy, the kids are well taken care of, they're smart, they're learning in school. What are you guys doing in there? Sorry, you guys. Scar Beauty said, Flora, I must say your channel is super peaceful and informative. Thanks for the work, sis. The feng shui and knowledge is very nice. Thank you so much, Scar Beauty. I appreciate your super chat. I try to keep these discussions level headed. You know, as much as I like to joke around and drag bandits, I'm not really here to upset anybody or make anybody's day go poorly. Honey, that's dirty. Okay? Leave that there. Come on. I need you to go play in the room for now, okay? Sorry, y'all. Okay. I don't necessarily need a woman to me for the sake of being loyal. If she's capable of being loyal to anyone, that's a major green flag. Right. And, you know, I'm not necessarily saying too much directly about you. My point more so was that when it comes to loyalty and that being an issue, I think it's more so that people they want women to sit around and wait, right? Instead of just being who that woman needs from them or wants from them, you know, what they're looking for in a relationship. Instead of doing that, you just see a lot more of, people trying to waste women's time. So that's more so the point I was trying to make in that point. Yep, and you 7 more subscribers away before you reach that 1K, and I subscribe to get you back to $9.99. Wow. Wow. You know, I knew it was your petty ass doing that. Okay. Girl, after all that we've seen, there's nothing that can make us mad. At this point, it's either rage or comedic. Yeah, and I think that's for a lot of women, right? A lot of women are at their wits' end, right? They've seen enough nonsense from men. Dating is just so unpleasurable nowadays. You know you're gonna have some bandit try to get in your jeans. You know, most women won't even drive with a man to a date anymore because they know that could potentially lead to them being in danger. Just a bunch of stuff. Lord have mercy. Hold on, y'all. Legs. Phew. All right, sorry, y'all. At least this time I didn't mute it. I just walked away. Yeah, I definitely think women are kind of at their wits' end in terms of dating. You know, they're kind of just bored and frustrated with relationships and things like that. They feel like a lot of men come into it trying to serve themselves or even play a game, right? Pretend to be this suitable mate and just great partner, and really they're not offering much. Hold on, guys.
I want bagels. Bagel. I want bagel. Oh, I want a bagel.
Sorry, y'all. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Oh, it's all done.
Sorry. But yes, okay. So securing a mate, right? That's the next portion of this. And I really like this article because I think that they sort of break down a lot of these misconceptions that people do have about relationships and sort of what the roles have always been. So a little while ago, we were talking about how this was just a rich people thing, right? And I think to some extent, you couldn't necessarily. Good. It wasn't necessarily that you had to be rich, but you definitely had to be making a little bit more money. You had to be a little bit up more than, you couldn't be in poverty per se. But even today, people who are poor don't necessarily get married, right? They don't necessarily have the ability to do so, or they feel like there's a financial barrier. But yeah, so all right, let's talk about securing a mate. So they talked about how women were praised for this role as wives and mothers, and so um, this romanticization of a homemaker, of a trophy wife and such. That's sort of where that arose from, this cult of domesticity. And it was basically that this woman was supposed to provide a peaceful, beautiful environment for the kids and for the husband. Um, and so women's eligibility for marriage became increasingly tied to their appearance and social ability, though wealth and familial connections remained important factors to prospective partners. Men took the lead in partner selection, choosing which women to pursue while women waited to be selected. There was an expectation that everyone would eventually marry, both men and women, but men were expected also to establish a career and a public persona. For women, becoming a wife and mother was an achievement to aspire to. Therefore, women were discouraged from participating in activities that might make them less suitable for marriage, such as higher education. Society was furthermore suspicious of women who did not marry, often characterizing them as deviants or old maids and limiting their options. So, obviously, there's been this very strange tug of war in terms of how relationships are formulated. When they sort of shifted to this like homemaker, helpmate type of thing, obviously appearance became a very big thing, right? This is where the soccer mommy or whatever became big. Um, Hearing the baby in the background is not distracting. It's usually sweet and nice to hear. Oh, trust me, I love the little ones. But they start talking to me and asking me questions, and my mind will become completely distracted. Like, and the things that they will ask me, sometimes I just be like, wow. But they'll definitely be popping back in here. It's just more so for me. It's hard to stay focused because they start asking me questions, asking for ice cream and cookies and things like that, which are amazing things that they're gonna get. It's just hard to focus. So okay, so let's see here. All right, so modern romance. So while romance remains a prime consideration in partner selection for 21st century women, the interest in selecting a partner has waned. In 2006, the Pew Trust found that only 16% of uncoupled Americans were actively looking for a partner. And when they were searching for love, marriage is not necessarily the romantic goal. In 2012, 23% of American men and 17% of women over age 25 had never been married, doubling from 1890 when 11% of men and 8% of women were never married. While marriage rates are down, cohabitation for unmarried men and women has increased. About a quarter of never married young adults aged 25 to 34 lived with a partner in 2015. So now this is that struggle love we're talking about. This is the struggle love that we're talking about, right? Where a woman will stand beside you. Stand by your man. Stand by your man. Very poorly given falsetto, right? Where you're just living together. You probably got some kids because when you're dating, living together, fucking every day, there's going to be some babies in that equation. But they still never been married. Reaching their 30s, never been married. Right? And I think this is the little joke that this is the giddy up that men have been playing, right? They've convinced women that what they want, what they need, what they're asking for is so much so that women will just stick beside them and take whatever they're willing to give, right? So if they're willing to cohabitate with you and put some babies in you, then you should just accept that, right? They're doing the same things you would do if you were married. There's no difference. It's just a piece of paper. They won't have 2 pennies to rub together and will be worried about being taken advantage of financially. Won't have to. So I think that a lot of the times when you really start to get to the root of these conversations, you understand why men are acting the way they do, right? Men have increasingly um, been seeking out more for women while giving less, right? If we're going to a point, if we're getting to a point where less people are married, but people's situations where they're living and having children with each other are increasing, if they're still doing that actively, and there's a shift, right? People's responsibility or sense of responsibility is shifting, where they don't necessarily feel that they need to be married in order to be a family man, in order to be a husband. They think that a husband is a theoretical concept. It's not real, right? That's where a lot of these bandits have sort of lost women, because women have historically always wanted this. They've always wanted to be married. They've always wanted family. And you can see there in about 2015, at that point, a lot of women were taking whatever they can get, right? They were just accepting whatever a man was giving. And a lot of times that meant that they lived with the man, the kids were raising the kids with them. It's not like the parents weren't there. They just weren't doing the final thing of making themselves an official family, right? And one of the biggest things that bothers me with that is, okay, now you pass away. What happens to your wife and your kids, right? You may have never married her, but you guys had a spiritual marriage. Is spiritual money going to pop up? Are they spiritually going to get a life insurance policy? If you're in the hospital, can your girlfriend come in the room? Your girlfriend and mother of your child? I think most hospitals aren't going to question if you say you're married to somebody, but realistically on the paperwork, in order for you to make decisions, health decisions, when your partner's life is in danger, you have to be married. We know that because when gay people were fighting for the right to marry, a lot of the reasons they cited is that they were married. They were basically married to the person, but they had no legal right to be with them, to help them. They couldn't even share like health insurance and things like that. So a male attempt to make women feel guilty and feel obligated to help men out. Whatever. Exactly. That's exactly what I think it is, right? Because men really are saying, well, the man is still raising his family. He's still paying all the bills, right? That's not necessarily true today, but he's still raising his family. He's still taking care of you. He's still there. Only thing he won't do is marry you, right? And it begs the question, why doesn't he want to just marry her? You're already doing all the things, and you said it yourself. You're already doing all the things that a husband would do. So what would be stopping a man from marrying a woman? And I think it's ego. I think it's ego, and I think ego and digital influence is sort of why. Right? You have so many males with podcasts, with think pieces. You have so many Myrons and fresh and filthy and funkies out there who literally have made it their living to sell men exactly what they want to hear. Of course, men want to hear that women should just accept them and take whatever they have to give, right? Men should absolutely understand that, y'all hear that? I think it's. Sorry, y'all. I thought I heard something strange. I've heard a man say that marriage is the ultimate submission to a woman, and that's why he'll never get married. Yeah, imagine how delusional it is to think that you're submitting to a woman by telling the government that you are legally married to a woman. Okay, you only hear me. I don't know. It sounded like a weird buzz, like a hum. But it's not my AC. That's not the hum I'm talking about. It sounded like something else. I couldn't figure out if it was maybe the sound. So I tried. Yeah, I'm not sure. Invest in a man's potential. That's men who are actually married successfully will tell you to never do that, right? And that's not to say, if a man is still trying to work his way up, make more money, etc., like that you should just leave him and go find somebody with more money. I don't necessarily believe that, right? But a lot of these men are incomplete, right? They haven't even accomplished anything at all. They have nothing to them. They don't have a business. They don't have money. They don't have a legacy. They don't have any type of community ties. Nothing. And they're expecting that women are just going to acquiesce and take them for whatever they are, you know? So I think that the problem is men need to build themselves up and then seek a woman who's willing to continue to build with him. You don't have to be at your richest when you meet a woman, but I definitely think if that man isn't actively putting himself together himself, then he's not even worth it. You know, he's probably just going to be a waste of time and a waste of energy. So I don't necessarily agree with dating potential. Now, there are some men that the potential is clear, right? You can see it from far away, you know, like a law student or a doctor. That's different. You can date that potential, right? That's almost guaranteed potential, unless they commit some type of crime that gets them, you know, makes them unable to perform that job. That's some decent potential. Or even another guy who's in a field who has the qualifications and such like that. I just personally think that a lot of times the guys that are saying, invest in a man's potential, they want you to date a man who has no career. His children aren't cared for. You know, he doesn't have a place to stay. He doesn't have steady income. You know, like they want you to just take any old bandit for any old thing, you know, and I think that's an issue that men are really truly dealing with. Now, before we continue, there's a video that I want to share with you guys. I don't know if I shared it already, but I know that I was watching it to put together a show that I ended up deleting because I'm going to start over. I think where my mind was going wasn't there, wasn't what I ended up with. So I'm going to share this video because I think that some of this stuff y'all got to hear from other men. Oh, you know what? I could probably go to watch history because I forgot how to find something you've seen before. Hold on. If I go to history, I could probably see the clip that I was talking about. So give me 1 second. This is not my watch history. I didn't watch any of this shit. Okay, some of it is actually. Hold on, y'all. Nappy-headed hoes. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 quick second. I'm almost there. I know I am. Oof. That's the only annoying part about YouTube, you know. Your watch history will literally be every short and thing now that you've seen. So hold on, y'all. I'm almost there because I know it was last week that I was working on this show for you guys, but then I canned it. Oh, here we go. I'm almost there. Why the rate of single men in the U.S. Now, I don't know. Did we actually do? Now I can't remember if I did this topic or not. Hold on.
Saturday, June 27th.
Last week, I delved here into recent data from the CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not. The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single...
Now, really quickly, do you guys recognize that? Do you guys recognize this, though? So, you guys recognize this at all? I know that I studied this, but I don't know if I ever showed it to you guys. So if y'all recognize this, just let me know in the chat. I'm still gonna play it anyways, because it's kind of relevant to this.
Men who say they're looking for dates or a relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age. The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantic.
Sorry, y'all. I was wondering, have I showed this to you already? Okay, a lot of things I've been studying in the background, I can't remember if I showed this to you guys, but it is something that I wanted to do a topic on. So I'm going to rewind it. But again, they're talking about single men and sort of what we're dealing with right now. Gore says, as a man, I'm triggered by the word potential. Look carefully at your mate and accept what they are today. We pay for today's price, not tomorrow.
Last week, I delved here into recent data from the CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not. The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single men who say they're looking for dates or a relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age. The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely.
And I just want to stop there because notice how incels are becoming very real, right? And I'm not trying to say this to troll, to make men feel bad or anything like that, but these men literally, right? Just to read this last sentence, men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. Friendless and lonely. To me, for a man to be friendless and lonely is scarier than sexually dormant and not having a romantic partner, because who is checking you? Who is giving you advice? Right? Are you just hopping online and getting relationship advice? Are you just hopping online watching porn all day and then going out and trying to address women the way you address corn? This is a very scary thing, because back in the day, if men didn't have nothing else, they had their friends. And not only are men staying away from romantic relationships, but they don't even have friends. They're lonely. That's a sad, sad thing, but it's also scary and dangerous for women. It's dangerous for anybody they interact with, really. I don't know a single person who takes these types of surveys. Well, you don't need to know a person, right? Because what you know would be anecdotal versus a study actually compiling data being statistical, right? Zombie men. Yep, I've heard that term. I've heard that term a lot. Homies over homes used to be real. Yeah, nowadays these men will drop a friend like a fly for a random hoe. And then when that relationship ends, they have nobody. Blame Tinder and IG. I can't. I gotta blame the people who are using it. Oh, that makes sense. My younger cousin's family members are weird. Yeah. See, this is the one thing I'll say I'm blessed, right? My little brother is not weird. He's gonna be 21. He is socially normal. He's chill. He's not weird. He has plenty of friends, but I believe that has more to do with how he was raised. We were all forced to do activities and things when we were younger. I was never home in the summer. I was never home on the weekends. My mom took me out of the house to go play with other kids, to go to barbecues, to go to pool parties. that was something that people understood. You could not just stay inside. There's something that happens to you when you allow yourself to be isolated from people. We all need connections. So the fact that there's so many men that not only are not getting any tender love and care, they also don't have friends, they don't have hobbies, they don't have a life, really, a lot of them outside of the internet. And that's scary. So let's continue, because they're going to talk about some of the implications of this. And the fact that it's coming from men, to me, is why I'm covering this particular video. Let's continue.
They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the causes, among the factors, a reliance on social media and online porn. But also, more young women are hooking up with each other or dating and marrying slightly older men, and heterosexual women are getting more choosy. Other troubling statistics about men come from a 2021 study from the Survey Center for American Life. They found the share of men who have 6 or more close friends, which in 1990 was 55%, by 2021 had shrunk by half. Meanwhile, those with literally 0 close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%. An expert quoted by The Hill said this disconnect can have catastrophic consequences for young men. Quote, in the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger women are largely responsible for rising rates of mass shootings, a trend that some researchers link to their growing social isolation. Well, those words reminded me of a conversation that I had over a year ago right here on CNN with NYU professor Scott Galloway.
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter.
But the issue.
And sorry, y'all, I'm not paying $20 for premium. It's ridiculous. When I first got it, it was $8.99. Now it's $18.99. So y'all gonna be watching commercials from now on, and you can't judge me for it. Let's continue.
Is when you have a group of men, the lower half of attractiveness of men in online dating, which has doubled, now it's about half of relationships, and the top 20% of men in terms of attractiveness get about 60% of the interest. You end up with a group of men that are more prone to conspiracy theory, more prone to misogynistic content, more prone to not believe in climate change.
And this is why, because I agree, Scarbeat. I definitely don't think that everyone who is alone has a problem, right? I don't think everyone, but I also think that loners don't necessarily not have friends, right? Or not have people, or not have a support system, right? I think loners choose their solitude, whereas these men literally don't have anything. They don't have friends. They don't have women. There's an absence of connections. And I think that's what they're trying to highlight here versus trying to shame people who are loners or who spend a lot of time alone. So I think that's more so where they're going. And specifically that when he just touched on this point about how they're consuming conspiracy content, misogynistic content, and things like that. When you're just by yourself, nobody's gonna tell you what the are you listening to, right? You're just gonna listen to that all day until you get tired, right? Versus if you have some friends or some people in your life, they might hear that and be like, dude, that sounds weird. Like, I get it. Like, some of the stuff might be correct, but you're teetering on some weird shit now, right? And I think that's kind of the difference with just being alone, choosing solitude versus being lonely, not having people around, not having somebody to support you. There's a lack of connection that can sometimes help keep that balance in your life. All of us need people, right? A lot of the times loners, they might be loners, but I'll tell you what, they got a man probably, right? They got family a lot of the times, right? They might have people that they can go to. It's just they prefer to do things on their own. And I think as somebody myself who's a loner, right? I like working out by myself. Sometimes I like going out to eat by myself. And the only other times that I'm doing stuff with people is family or close friends that I'm really close to. So I think there's a difference. I wouldn't say that I have no friends. I wouldn't say that I don't have people, but I'm a loner. I prefer to be in my solitude. I think I work best on my own. I have the most creativity on my own. And that can still be true without me being a danger because I have no normal connection. So I think that's the difference they're trying to make. But I do understand your point that you made at this time. I don't trust none of these stats. I think it's always an agenda being pushed. I don't think so. I think men are truly going a strange way. And you know what's funny? Me and Jay Prince the other day watched a video, sort of about Egyptian history and how women were sort of removed from religion by colonizers and the colonialists and things like that. The religion that they took and brought other places. Oh snap! I think that's the hallway. I was like, wait, what is on fire in here? That was the hallway. But I think, even then, I lost my train of thought because I don't know where that fire alarm's coming from. But I do think that there is if anything, there's an agenda to make men and women disagree and not want to be with each other. So I think that's more so the issue that I'm seeing. I don't think there's an agenda here like, oh, this is just trying to make men seem stupid. When you have the mental health statistics, the self-deletion and opioid and drug and alcohol abuse that men have, then you would understand that this is a very important conversation and concept. I just read something about people this is true. And I think a lot of this is true, especially in higher institutions and things like that. I'm like, people who go out to bars and restaurants alone are usually more confident. Yeah, but how many times have you seen an incel at a bar alone? Right? People who enjoy solitude. They're not afraid to be around people. They're not incapable of being around people. I think the incel and some of these fringe group of men, the issue is their interaction skills are not there, right? They can't interact with women. They don't know how to, right? They usually have very cringy interactions with women. And a lot of it has to do with consumption of corn and things like that. So can't necessarily 100% blame them. That's why these male outlets are important. Otherwise, it will be worse. I think male outlets like these two men, and ignore the race. I know y'all love to be blickety black up in here, but my bad. We're talking about incels. Let me stay on topic. No. Listen, Scarby, your input is good because I want to make sure we make a distinction. People choosing solitude is not the same as an incel who says they have no friends, they can't get no bitches, and then they're just around themselves alone 24. That's very different. A lot of times people who are loners or prefer solitude, a lot of the time they are choosing. They're not. It's not an absence of friends. It's choosing solitude over being in groups. And that a lot of times that was my case because I think I'm one of those weird people who is introverted, but I have extroverted tendencies, right? So I'm the type of person that I can go anywhere and have a really good time, but I prefer to be by myself. And that's a conundrum because when you're that type of person, people want you to be around. They want to have fun. They want to invite you places, but that's just not. I get very my energy gets very overloaded because of my fake, what do you call it? Extroverted tendencies. People think that I like lots of interaction, lots of talking and stuff like that. Even streaming. This is the most I like. I'm not talking to nobody else today. I'm not talking to nobody else but JP and stuff like that. But that's me. It's not that I don't like people. It's just I prefer to be on my own. I prefer my solitude. I like thinking for myself and thinking by myself, I would say you're confident. Yeah, I would say I'm confident, but I think I'm a loner. I prefer to be on my own. In real life, people exhaust me. So even though I have extroverted tendencies, I can do presentations and talk and do all these things, I get drained by this, unless I'm having a lot of fun trolling the fuck out of you, then I'm getting something out of it. That's very different. So I would say it's still true. I'm more of a loner. But all right, let's continue with the video because I do think they say very important things about men and what they're struggling with. Thank you, Trevor. One, I would say I'm independent as well. I like to be on my own. I come up with a lot of things on my own. Oh shit! Damn! I just missed something important, y'all. Aw. Was it meant to be? All right, let's continue.
So this is the American story. If it's written with a pen whose ink is failing young men, does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
As always, Professor Galloway was prescient. Back with me now is Scott Galloway. He's a professor of marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the host of the Professor G podcast and author of multiple best-selling books, most recently, Adrift, America in 100 Charts. Scott, thanks for returning. Hasn't the advantage always been to those with the looks and or the money? What's changed?
First off, Mike, I just want to say thank you for raising this issue a year ago when a lot of media companies were afraid to talk about this for fear of its being pro-men with somehow being anti-women. Look, this is returning to the natural order of things. For the majority of history, a small percentage of men have had the majority of the mating opportunities. But in America, we decided to make a huge investment in what would probably be the greatest innovation in history, and that is in the middle class. From 1945 to 1947, 7 million men returned from war, were discharged from the service, and we decided to give them the GI Bill, subsidized mortgages. We saw education rates go from 5 to 45%. They were valued, and we had such a strong manufacturing base that you had massive marriage and household formation. And some men were seen as more economically and emotionally viable. And you've seen the reverse happen with the offshoring of much of our manufacturing base, with a society that quite frankly doesn't value young men. When we talk about problems with people of color or women, we see it as a systemic societal problem. When we see problems or the stats that you just mentioned, we see it as accountability, or the men just need to level up. But married households and household formation are better citizens. They vote, they save at twice the rate, they're less likely to commit crimes. And we have fewer and fewer viable men. We have a dearth of economically and emotionally viable men. But the middle class is an accident. Unless you invest in it, it doesn't happen. Eisenhower decided to invest $500 billion in that.
And I'll say this, I think they make a legitimate point about the economical struggles of men today, right? I think there is sort of this lack of there's this lack of care for young people, right? The fact that all the older people today got the great mortgage rates, low college rates and things like that, versus now college is at an all-time high, housing is at an all-time high. I just saw an article where a man said that he feels like he has to choose between having a family, having a marriage, and having a house. You know, so it's very kind of troubling to know that there is this much economic crisis that is impacting, you know. They're definitely probably married. I'm just saying, you go on bald or whatever, but they probably got some bitches. But I definitely think this part of the conversation, the economic part of it, is true. They do need to invest in young men with these high self-deletion rates, these very high rates of poverty or low rates of education and such like that. I definitely do believe that men need help, right? Men need some level of financial help. And other men need to bring it to them, because it ain't my job, and it's not single women's job to bring it to men either. And that's the problem, right? People want women to feel bad for men. And as much as I agree that they do need the investment, there's also a lack of care from other men. Men don't give a damn. You have these men that are they're in their 50s sometimes competing with young men for wives, for women. Right. And some of them are winning. Right. You hear that women are still getting married. They're still getting in relationships. And a lot of times it's with men that are much older and able to bring some financial stability. You know, you guys can call it whatever you want. But if a woman has to decide between a man who can pay the bills and a man that she has to help, pay the bills, like struggle help to pay the bills, then you can't really be mad at what she decides, Damn, I'm kind of pissed. I forgot about something, and it was a work from home position, y'all. Damn. I'm stunting right now. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to reapply. Okay, if more men went to therapy, the world would be a safer place, maybe, and that's a big maybe. Yeah, but I also think, notice how with the steep decrease in marriages and families being formed, now there's also these waves of crimes and such and things, and unproductive men wreaking havoc on the world. And it's not just about productivity. Productivity is an important part of it, but it's not just about productivity. These men need to figure it out. They say they solve problems, so get to solve, and women have other things to do. Exactly, like protect our wombs from you bandits, right? Protect ourselves from being thrown milk on because we don't want to date your ugly asses. Women have other issues, and it seems like men don't care about these issues that men are having today. Don't feel bad. They gonna figure my fake ass membership holding ass out too. Oh Lord. Hey Hassan, how you doing? I've been pretty good. Looking like two used Q-tips. Oh my god. What is y'all talking about in the chat? But I agree with Travel One. I think men need to figure it out. They have so much to say about where women put their vaginas, but they're not worried about why young men don't feel like they have any support or help. Why nobody's lifting up young men? That's what men are responsible to do. Jay Prince says, let's get Flora up to 1K subs. She's only 7 away. Yes, guys, if you're not already subscribed, please do. Please share. Please like the video. If y'all aren't subscribed just because you think I'm dusty, well, take that away and subscribe. Will make this a lot easier for myself to continue to do day in and day out. All right, y'all? Follow the Jay Prince for President. And also, hit the Cash App. Thank you to those who've already supported. I have so much support here, and I greatly appreciate it. But if you feel like doing so and you haven't already, please do. All right, let's continue.
National highway project that created tons of jobs. We have, and by the way, the tax rate back then was 91%. We raised money and we redistributed in social programs that made young people more economically viable.
And then, Scott, you toss in the influence of social media and how relationships today, they don't come from, in our era, happenstance and mingling, right? They come from swiping, and that further accelerates this issue. Am I right?
Oh, it's been the chaser to it. I mean, to have an honest conversation about this, we have to be honest, and that is that men and women have different mating criteria. One quarter of men saying economic viability is a key criteria in a mate. 3/4 of women say that is important. And when you're on a two-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online, it used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago, it gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive? And specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future? An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time. And there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it, you've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is vibe, humor, body language, pheromones,
All right, and I'm gonna when I finish addressing a few things in the chat, I'm going to go back to what he just said about the pheromones and such, because that's a big part of why people don't have relationships. Oh, shout out to Scar Beauty's second account. She said sub to hurry up and get you to 1,000. Thank you so much, Scar Beauty. I greatly appreciate it. I wanted to read, what was it? Okay, right there. It says it's only one number one spot. Men, especially in the Black community, are competing for that number one spot and using women as a scapegoat to hide the fact that they don't want to see other men prosper. And I think that's a fact. You didn't lie, not one bit. There's a lot of men out here who do not want to see other men prosper. And I don't think race is necessarily a big part of it. I think a lot of these men want the best woman for themselves, right? Old or young. They want to have that best woman. They want to take them from the young man. They want to feel good about themselves. A lot of it is selfish. And a lot of men are selfish, right? The funny thing, though, is when I was growing up, there was a lot of men who invested in my siblings that weren't family at all. They were people that we met in the community, people they went to school with. And I think one of the biggest things that's missing is that there is not men who selflessly just care about other young men and want to see them do better. That's just part of the issue. And I think until men care about each other more, then what are we going to have? Women advocating for men? It's not possible. We can try our best. I'm not going to. If we're being honest, I'm not going to, because a lot of these men just get on here and trash women. So I just feel like the problem needs to be dealt with internally. Lita says men need to practice building comprehension skills so that when they see stories about them being lonely, they can get into action properly and provide safe, productive spaces for them. I agree. And I think that's the problem. I think that men in general, they don't understand that in order for them to help these, like, let's be real, these incels are not damned. If they haven't committed a crime, they can fix themselves. They just need to be guided. Right? If the older men weren't sitting here talking all this crap about women in the first place, I don't think there would be this many insults to begin with, right? Men would be more willing to do the things that they need to do to secure a woman, to secure all the things that they want. Japer says support for her to get an ambuga. Instead, they want to sit on panels and misread stats and babble about body counts. Yeah. And the sad thing is, you know how many older men I see on these spaces, not just our spaces, but I see all over YouTube specifically talking about women in a degrading way, talking about there's a band that I'm gonna pull up actually, because when I went into my watch history, I did find some of the videos that I watched, and I'm gonna pull it up after this one, because I think if I go back, it'll go right to where I was. But there's a bandit who's in his 40s or something, and the way he talks about relationships and how men have been bamboozled into this, that, and the third, it's sad. And it lets you know that it is not a racial thing. Men across the board are delusional. They are delusional. And I think a lot of it has to do with the lies that they're being fed. And there's not enough honest men who care about all these men who are not being raised or not being taught well. I think that's the problem we have. Thank you so much again. She says, okay, I'm back. I love Floor. We're protecting our wombs from y'all bandits. I love Floor streams. Are so well put together in detail. Thank you. But I think, that's a big issue. Let's continue to hear what they have to say about what's going on with men, because they make really good points as they're summing up this video.
Ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship. We have no third places anymore, no places to pursue time. And typically for men is when you're on a two-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online. It used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago. It gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive? And specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future? An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time. And there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it, you've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is.
And this is where I wanted to stop as well, right? Because he talked about mating dynamics, right? And he goes in and talks about pheromones and things like that. And that is the main issue with people trying to find love on, let's say, YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, right? When you're having those interactions with somebody, when you're talking to them and things like that, you're not picking up on the signals that you would were you face to face, right? Pheromones being one of the main ones. If a woman is attractive and interested, she's letting off pheromones, right? Unknowingly, unfortunately, this is how we've always been as humans. Unknowingly, she's releasing pheromones because she wants to attract that man, right? If a woman is scared or disgusted by a man, she's really not going to be naturally, she's not going to naturally be, those pheromones aren't going to be there in the same way. They specifically come out in a mating ritual when people are attracted to each other. And I think so when you have people just going online, falling in love in an inbox, right? Not really talking, not really feeling each other's vibe in person or anything like that. That is the issue. That's why relationships today are not really great. But you also have some men who they can placate a person or a personality through the internet, right? So where in person, a woman can pick up that guy's faking. When he's texting her good morning every day, doing all the right things via text message, she might even mistake that for a real romantic connection where that man is he's just doing regular stuff. This is everyday shit for the man. And I think that's a big issue. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm gonna just mute. I'm just gonna cam down for a second. You guys can still hear me though. Okay, sorry, y'all. I had to stand up. Hey, what are you talking about in the chat, Jay? You should be chatting. Sins of the father, abandonment, etc. Men are not to be coddled; they are to be self-sufficient and have respectful fear, but not frozen fear. They must produce and carry the world like Atlas, masculine. And some men would say, "Oh, that's travel one. She's putting too much on the modern man. They just want too much from these modern men." Yeah, these dating apps are a waste of time. Absolutely. People need to go outside, go talk to women in your area. That's who you should be marrying. You should not be plucking a bitch from Ohio and marrying her. Yes, that will work sometimes. Sometimes the love of your life is in another part of the country or in another part of the world. But 9 times out of 10, you're better off marrying someone who you are in proximity to because you will know more about them. Right? A lot of people are marrying people they don't even know. And then when you come online on here giving us this little story, we're not supposed to laugh. We're not supposed to laugh. All right, let's continue with this video. And then I do want to pull up that older bandit who was just rambling at the mouth. All right, here you go.
Vibe, humor, body language, pheromones, the ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship. We have no third places anymore, no places to meet. People aren't going to bars, they aren't sports league, they aren't going to church, they aren't even going to work. So it gets distilled down to very one or two dimensional attributes. And the reality is women are much choosier than men, and they can apply those screens and they allocate all of their attention to a small number of men that results in just essentially at the end of the day, a lack of opportunities. Chris Williams summarized it perfectly. He called it the high heels effect. In the last 40 years, more women have graduated from college than men, and they're not interested in mating with non-college grads. They now own more homes, single women, than single men. So what you have is women say they won't date anyone shorter than them, 50% of them. Effectively, what you have metaphorically over the last 40 years is women have been getting taller and taller, and men have been getting shorter and shorter. How many of us have said, I know a ton of great single women, they can't find a date? That's not true. They can't find a date. They can't find a man they find economically or emotionally viable. If we don't make a massive investment in young people and make more economically and emotionally viable men, we're going to see a lack of household formation. We're going to see a decline in the middle class. And we're going to see, quite frankly, just a lot of young men who are terrible citizens.
All right, so that's coming straight from the mouth of men, right? And I think the reason why they're saying this is because the problem is already in full swing, right? I know that I believe this video is about a year old, but this is something that women have been saying for quite a while, right? They have been saying that these incels, these weirdos, they are wreaking havoc, right? Think about how many of them. I believe a bandit just, and I'm saying bandit here in the true fashion of the meaning of the word bandit, which is a criminal. But there was just a bandit who went and shot up a splash pad. A splash pad, and then had the audacity to delete himself. Like, don't get me started. I'm not even gonna start because I feel like some of these stories just like they get worse and worse every day. But my problem is this is something that people have been saying for a while, right? These men who don't have anything going on, who are not settling down, who are not building a family, who are not really contributing anything to society, they're just taking from society, that they would be a danger. And now that we're in full swing of the problem, you got these old heads trying to come in like they're saying something new. And now I'm not trying to discount them. I think they're doing a really good job of covering this subject, but I think this has been a long time coming. And there was a point in time where men their age comfortably got online or not got online, but was in media and things like that, downing women, saying that women today are this, women today are that. These same men have also contributed to some of the culture. Like these, when I say these same men, I mean like this age range. There's a lot of men in their age bracket who would think very differently about this subject. They would say that this is the fault of modern women, right? That women are the problem today, right? Women are the ones who are causing these issues. So I would say this is probably the first time I'm seeing accountability. But this is not the first time I'm hearing that these men can be dangerous. So I wanted to bring it up because that was one of the big points. I'm just going to play it again so you guys can hear what is really the problem, right? So they're talking about how women are just doing better, and so men can't keep up, and they're just sad and angry about it. Um, but this is the real issue.
And then single men. So what you have is women say they won't date anyone shorter than them, 50% of them. Effectively, what you have metaphorically over the last 40 years is women have been getting taller and taller, and men have been getting shorter and shorter. How many of us have said, I know a ton of great single women, they can't find a date? That's not true. They can't find a date. They can't find a man they find economically or emotionally viable. If we don't make a massive investment in young
And that's the main part right there. They can't find a man that's emotionally or economically viable, right? So even though, yes, even the ones that have money are coming up as not suitable, right? Because of their habits, their beliefs, the media they consume. It's more than just finances, right? Because yes, finances is important. Women still want to be in a good situation financially, but also they want a emotionally stable partner. Nobody wants to worry if their partner is going to go berserk on them, right? Nobody wants to be worried about a partner neglecting them or cheating, being unfaithful, and expecting them to still stick beside them. Nobody wants that. And I think that's a huge part of the issue that people ignore, right? Because basically what they said there is that it's not even just about money. Some of y'all are emotionally inept. You have nothing. There's something wrong with you. Seek help. Seek Christ. Because it's more than just about money. You also have to be a good mate, a good choice for a mate. Let's continue.
people and make more economically and emotionally viable men. We're going to see a lack of household formation. We're going to see a decline in the middle class. And we're going to see, quite frankly, just a lot of young men who are terrible citizens.
So is the answer to fix this economically, and who will champion this conversation? You felt obliged to compliment me at the outset because we had engaged on this a year ago, and here I am revisiting it. And I read into that the fact that you think that it's politically incorrect even to have this dialogue.
When you're seen as advocating for men because of the 300,000 year head start we've had, it seems somehow as anti-female. There's a lot of very unfortunate misogyny online that is masquerading as being pro-men. A lot of TikTok celebrities who talk about advocating for men, it's just thinly veiled misogyny. What do we need? We need more freshman seats in colleges. We need a massive investment in vocational training. We need to figure out a way to get more permitting for housing so young people can afford housing. We need to recognize our economic policies literally allocate wealth from young people to old people. The percentage of wealth that young people control under the age of 40 has been cut from 12% to 6%. These are concerted, deliberate decisions. We did away with the child tax credit. We don't want to make it any easier for people to have kids. But seniors just got their largest cost of living adjustment increase in history. We have made the decision to make it harder and more expensive for people to find each other, for people to mate, and for people to have children. And without children, we turn into Japan and Italy, and that is we go into population decline and our economy goes into decline. We are about to become a society by the turn of the century. There will be 8 times as many people over the age of 60 and half as many kids under the age of 5. Nursery schools will become these strange situations with old people staring through fences at these creatures they don't see in the wild called children. Is this the world we want? Do we want a lack of kids? Do we want a lack of ability to create households? The happiest, most prosperous, most purposeful people in America are middle-class families. And we have made a concerted decision to punch it in the gut and make it harder for that type of family formation. And we're going to lose prosperity and we're going to lose purpose.
If y'all know what I just heard, you would know why I'm muted.
Listen, the top
Okay, y'all. Sorry, I didn't expect this to trigger him, but you know who needs to go outside. Exactly. No quality of life. There's no rent control. Really, they don't care about young people. And just the fact that he brought up a great stat there about how the wealth was controlled by 12% of it was in young people's hand before, and now it's 6. So they're literally trying to give us half of what they had and telling us that that should be enough. That's literally where we're at. Oh, it's so hot in here, y'all. Sorry, I didn't want to take this damn hat off, but it's hot. It's killing me, this heat. Whew. When I was walking, though, this hat was a lifesaver. No, JP is listening. What is JP ranting about? He's literally trying to say it's about man and a woman. Women want traditional, but life ain't folk traditional no more. Which I said is not related to the conversation. But anyways, he might, but I think he's trying to do a show later, and I'm honestly trying to end as well. Because we're getting towards that 3-hour mark. But so what is Rachel rented? Who needs to go outside? Just now seeing your comment. I'm not concerned with finding a well-polished diamond. I've been polishing stones my whole life. This isn't a new thing for me, and hopefully she's ready to receive it. Oh, brother. Yeah, oh, brother is right, Lita, because one thing that annoys me about Jay Prince is that he's not able to have a nuance. Like, he can't stay on topic. The topic is literally romance is gone. And I brought this particular part up, and he's saying that they were defending women. I mean, they literally said multiple times in the video that women in some ways are becoming choosier, right? And they don't want to deal with men who aren't educated. And the fact that men are not educating themselves is what's taking them out of the race. So they're not necessarily agreeing with women being choosier, but they're also saying that women's natural instinct is to want a man who can bring something. So a broke man with a poor attitude, they definitely wouldn't want. And that these type of conversations are just, if you can't be calm and clear-headed about them, they just devolve very quickly, which I didn't want to do. Okay. So we heard that there from men. And I want to do one more. This last one that I'm going to do, I'm only going to do like a few of it. A few minutes of it, because I want us to end and give JP a chance to start. Partially because he will be in the background loud, getting on my nerves. If we're both going at the same time. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the video that I was thinking about. Okay. Give me 1 second, y'all. This one was just the only reason why I want to play this particular one is because this is an example that this is how a lot of men are thinking right now. I'm not even gonna say most men, but this is how a lot of bandits are thinking, and I believe that because of the amount of subscribers he has. JP is right. Those two dudes are fake male activists, female identified. No, not at all. I just think that you guys consider any man who speaks favorably or in favor, not even in favor, because they didn't say anything favorable about women, but I just believe you guys think that any man who's able to see the nuance is, pro-woman. So, and the funny part is they were actually worried about being anti-woman with what they were saying. So they need to learn how to comprehend better, because why did JP even say that to you? That I literally said it was off topic. I said it was off topic. That has nothing to do with the subject at hand, especially because that video was saying that the government, like they did in the times of war, need to invest in men. So not only are they not investing in men, but I just heard yesterday that they're forcing a draft on men. Speaking of that, I got to call my little brother to ask him if he's ready, because y'all know it's about to be a World War III if they're about to draft you ninjas. JP is right. These students make no. I just think there's a comprehension issue with this one. All right, let's start. Let's hear him a little bit. He is a bandit, so I'm not going to make it to 15 minutes, but he's a bandit, and I want you guys to understand where this mindset is coming from in terms of the
Hope everybody's doing well out there. I wanted to come out here today and shoot the shit with you guys and talk about why so many men are giving up nowadays. They're giving up on dating. They're giving up on the workforce. They're giving up on starting families. They're giving up on their country. A lot of them are giving up on life. You know, they've had enough and they're ready to quit. And we know this is true because, you know, if you look at the content that's getting all the views, you know, that Sigma male shit gets a lot of views, which is basically just content being farmed for guys who are done playing the game and want to go off and do their own thing and be different. MGTOW's always a really popular subject. You know, black pill and incel. You've got all the normies out there talking about hypergamy and modern women being delusional and, you know, red pill and, you know, women's unrealistic standards. So basically you'll see video titles like modern men are done with dating because of this. And, you know, everybody's got their own perspective. And, you know, that's what I wanted to come out here and talk about today. Now, from my perspective, what I think is going on here is I think modern men have woken up and now they understand how the game is played. And as a byproduct of that, they no longer want to play the game.
So let me just say this. Actually, I won't. Y'all know what I'm thinking, though. This is a bandit. This is a tool head bandit. He probably spends a lot of time looking at himself in the mirror. He probably spends a lot of time in the gym, staring at other women and all types of shit. And so whoever was stupid enough to deal with him probably left him, right? Now, I'm just making a lot of assumptions here because his talking points are giving scorned male, I want to be able to use you. And if I can't, then I'm mad. Or this is giving mad Trailer Park Boys, right? Like it's giving, I feel like the world is not acquiescing to men anymore, so I'm upset. Because for him to even come up with this is crazy. Now, that's not to discount the talking point that men, or the truth that men today, you know, face a lot more financial struggles and such than their ancestors. But I do think this is the crybaby whining type of energy that's sort of becoming evident. That's sort of becoming evident with men. You know, he just snatched up them glasses. That's sort of becoming evident with men. And I think that's what's causing a lot more issues than what people think. So, all right, let's continue.
Okay. And this isn't just for dating. It's just about damn near every aspect of your life. You know, young men, when they're teenagers, they have this idea built up in their head that they're going to have this satisfying and fulfilling career. They're going to make a difference. You know, it's going to be just this amazing life they're going to live. They're going to meet a woman that genuinely loves them. They're going to start a family and, you know, just have this great life. But then they get out there and they find out, you know, how corrupt the game really is. And this is what a lot of people call the red pill, right? You know, you're switching from the blue pill to the red pill. But, you know, that game is being played everywhere you go. A lot of people just don't want to play it. It's hard to get really good at the game when you have morals and you have ethics, you know, when you have principles. It's difficult. Okay. And it's everywhere you go. No matter what career you choose, or damn near whatever career you choose, it's the same game being played. You walk in there first day and you have a decision to make. You can either figure out who you need to butt kiss, who you need to backstab, and how are you going to make yourself shine? You know, how are you going to take credit for your work? You can either come up with a game plan of those three things. And if you don't, guaranteed you won't succeed. No matter how educated you are, no matter how skilled you are, no matter how strong your work ethic is, it's not what it's about. It's about who you know. It's about playing the game.
And he's just 100% full of shit. I agree with this point, Lita. These depressed losers need to get offline and get gainfully employed. Here's what I'll tell you. Yes, sometimes we work super hard and we might not get the results that we're hoping for. But telling people that hard work doesn't matter because you feel like the world isn't acquiescing to men's desires anymore is weird, right? And this dude is probably pushing 40, right? Because we can tell that he's probably one of the more healthier white folks. Maybe aging is probably going easy on him, but he's probably pushing 40 something, and I just think at this point, when all the men that they have to look up to are just so delusional and lost and have no purpose in life, right? And I'll bet you that this man was probably influenced by another older single man when he was a young man to become what he is today, which is probably selfish, self-serving, probably a jerk. Sorry to say it, from his tone, from his body language, it's giving bandit. But then they hop online and they impose these feelings that they're feeling for their own life on every young man. And the ones who are not guided are the ones who are more in danger to fall for this. And that's sad. It's really sad that this is where we're at, because you can tell that women are over it, right? Romance is gone. Women are done. They don't really care to date a lot of y'all. There are still women out there seeking relationships. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that women are sort of done. They don't really care too much anymore. They're being very choosy and selfish now because they've spent so much time trying to meet the standard that men put out there. And now because women are expecting something in return, men are having a whole fuss. They're having a toddler meltdown, just all types of BS. Firing up StreamYard and babbling for hours on end. Listen, I'm trying, Gore. I appreciate that. Hey, Davey. A lot of them are honest about they desire to corrupt young men. Yeah. Well, they will try to act like they're trying to help young men, right? They'll say, well, I just don't want them to go through what I did, right? Because their kids don't talk to them. Their wife left them, right? They made several women baby mothers, right? They act like they're trying to help them, but really what they're doing is trying to impress their failures onto other men so those men won't go out and give women what they're looking for and build families because they couldn't have it. A lot of these older men, I saw an older man, like mostly all gray hair with a toddler, and it was his child. I know it's his child because I asked somebody and knows his fuck, but it was his kid. He just had a toddler. This is not me saying that men can't start late in life, but he has other children. He has grown-ass kids, and he went and impregnated a young woman. A lot of these men will get on here and try to push young men away from women so that they can go and seek those younger women, offer them the finances that you don't have, simp for them, do everything that they're telling you not to do because they know women want that. Women need that from you, right? They don't want to be with a man who can't give them or offer them anything. So they'll tell you, oh yeah, don't give her nothing. But those women will go and run into their arms because all they've been dealing with is bandits, young bandits. And even then, a lot of these older men will still get left for the woman. The woman will leave them for a younger man. But I see it a lot. I see a lot of fake concern for young men when really they just want to be able to compete with those young men. And the only way they know how to do it is to convince young men that they don't need women, that they don't want women. I mean, if you're having meltdowns, then sure. They envy youth and beauty, and they chase that by destroying young women with babies and corrupting young men with deliberate bad advice because they are depressed. Exactly. They're depressed. The woman who is in their age bracket did not tolerate their BS. She left them. And so they want all men to think that women are going to leave them and cheat on them and all types of delusional things. So That's sort of where I'm going to drop it. I do think that I landed my plane for the most part in terms of romance, romantic love, and why it's no longer a thing, and why it's a dying concept. I do think there's a little bit more to this discussion that I'm open one day to having a panel about. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. I hope that you guys enjoyed the conversation. So if you'd like to hit me with a goodbye super chat, goodbye cash app, I would greatly appreciate it. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.